Two. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first official episode of Rhymes Don't Pay, a podcast brought to you by me, Mike, aka Mitz, aka your favorite rapper's favorite rapper, and I'm joined by my co-hosts Luke and Fawaz. We just had to restart the podcast because he baited out his government name on the screen, and then I had to try and re-record the intro about 6 or 7 times, so I kept fucking it up. Right, so do you two want to introduce yourselves?
Luke, you can go first.
Yeah, I'm Luke, aka Shluki, aka Conv. Good evening.
Fawaz, aka Fofo. What you saying?
Yeah.
All right.
Fair enough, right? What you saying. Right, so what we decided to do is we recorded the podcast last week, and yeah, like you know, we weren't going to pay for it. So pretty much that one is just gone. You'll never see that ever. Maybe if we make money, we'll bring it. But yeah, we basically recorded it and we spoke about exclusive hip hop top fives. And then we decided, let's not just keep it hip hop. Let's keep it to all music, because hip hop is so narrow, and also you two especially are big fans of other genres. So Luke came up with the idea this week that we basically all choose our own. I said UK only because I want to talk about the UK, but Luke said choose your own genre and talk about it. So I personally chose grime. For what I chose alternative, and Luke chose post-punk kind of genre. Before we go into too much detail, do you want to give any indication, any reason as to why you chose those genres?
So I've sort of gone for like modern alternative. It's all like 2017 and post. And the reason I've gone for it is like I used to listen to like strictly hip hop and strictly pop until I was about maybe like 19-ish. And like it's a genre that like, because I've just started exploring new music, it's the one that sort of like stayed with me the most, because because it's alternative, you can draw from hip hop, you can draw from R&B, you can draw from pop, you can draw from all of that and just like make it your own. So I feel like although it's like people think it's a pretty intimidating genre to start exploring, I'd say it's probably one of the easiest to get yourself into.
Yeah.
Okay. For me, I'd say post-punk's pretty broad. I think, well, maybe not too broad because not too many people in the UK do it. It's not too big here, I suppose. But I think that I really like the way that we've kind of interpreted punk in the US for ourselves. There's a lot of really interesting political stuff that comes through in this music. I like that maybe the fact that it wasn't popular since it started, and it's kind of come into the spotlight more in the last couple of years. It's kind of it's interesting how that has shaped the music and what it is today. So yeah, I think there's a lot to talk about, and that's why I'm talking about it. Yeah.
That's solid reasoning. Yeah, I chose grime mainly because obviously I'm a massive hip hop head anyway. And even when I started making music, it was all grime. And it's what, like, I love hip hop and I always loved American hip hop, but it was always like grime's that thing that opened the door for like for UK people doing it. And like I think it's just influenced so much of everyone's lives. Like early influence, obviously not, but even down to the way people dress and the way people act, the way people speak. I think it's got such an impact. It had such an impact on youth culture anyway. That yeah, it's just for me, out of all UK genres, I think for me that's my favorite. And also just the fact that people making grime has allowed for them to branch off and allow like artists like Slow Tie. Like I know for you thinking about putting him as your alternative, people like Slow Tie can come through and they can all like, but because the British accent is now there, the London accent is now there through grime, and people were used to it. Okay, now we can start building our own whatever, because grime is the only one that is truly British, got a British identity. Other things like hip hop, drill, all that shipped in from the US, whereas literally grime is is truly British, and that's why I chose to talk about it, really, and also the fact that I just I know a lot about it. So yeah, so I was going to we decided off camera that I was going to kick it off. So when discussing grime, the one thing you need to keep in mind is how suppressed it was by the police for so many years. People for a long time decided to say that it was violent, and grime artists were violent, and rah rah rah. And realistically, what had happened was these are people coming from deprived areas, potentially criminal backgrounds. Some not, some are, because that's just sometimes you've got to do what you got to do to survive. And basically, the police kept suppressing it, and I'll talk about that more later. So the origins of grime essentially came about from jungle, two-step garage, and hip hop. It was kind of a mashup of the three, where you used to have people like So Solid, Pay As You Go, Heartless Crew, Wiley. All these crews used to basically spit at like jungle and garage raves, and it came to the point where Wiley started developing his own sound, really, with grime, and it was kind of building, and he kind of got his esky sound. It was building and building. He Roll Deep started emerging, and with that came Dizzy Rascal, which takes me on to my first album everyone needs to listen to. Dizzy Rascal came through with Boy in the Corner in 2003, and boy, first grime album, really. I don't know if it's the first like hip hop subgenre album or not, but he won a Mercury Award for it. And I said this the other day, that Boy in the Corner is the Illmatic of grime. It was the one that everyone, it made the whole country, go on note and take notice of these like young black youths in inner city London who are making a real movement. And then mainly it was just tunes like I Love You.
Stop that hit that what?
Yeah.
Just a Rascal.
Sitting here.
Jesse.
Yeah. Just a Rascal. Fucking Fix Up Look Sharp, which went massive.
Yeah. Banger.
Absolute. And, it was just like that exploded onto the scene and everyone went nuts for it. And then from then onwards, there was like grime in the UK was a thing. So.
And it's, you mentioned like it's like Illmatic, and it's like worth noting as well that wasn't Nas. How old was Nas when Illmatic came out? I think he was
19.
19.
And
Dizzy was 19
18.
when Dizzy was 18, 19 when this came out as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So like this is it then. So now you've got these young boys on the scene, and they've won awards. They're doing shows. Right. Cool. Right. And Dizzy was a bad boy in his youth as well. Like he's been kicked out of so many schools. So this opens the door for a lot more people. And now at this point, they're doing pirate radio. So you've got Deja going off. You've got Heat FM up in North London. You've got so many different pirate crews going around. You had NAA, which is Big Nasty in them. Nasty Crew, which was Gets, D Double, Kano, all these people. You had The Movement. You had Boy Better Know forming, Roll Deep. So many of these crews were kind of forming, and they go to radio sets and just spit. And
what kind of years are these?
These are early to mid 2000s, because pirate radio really had been shut down by 2008 because it became so mainstream that they were just going on to Westwood and BBC.
Yeah.
And so these are like early days of grime, like so they're going on, and like there's like a famous video of where Dizzy Rascal and Crazy Titch were beefing, and basically it's from where they're recording pirate radio on a roof, on a genuine roof, and like everyone's just packed into this room, and they're there, and it's like two mics, like go back, like 16 bars, 32 bars, pass off the mic, whatever, and like you can see that like that is like it was just so street and so unpolished, and I think that's what drew so many people to it. And like
recorded in cupboards and stuff.
Yeah, like genuine, like this wasn't like massive studios, and this wasn't massive studio production, and it was just literally like someone would have like a Mac, and they'd make a beat, and someone would go record on a mic literally like this, and they'd just make mixtape after mixtape, and that's my phone going off. And you know, like I think with Dizzy, obviously Dizzy's a solo album, so I don't want to touch too much on the other artists I want to talk about. But yeah, so at this point they're doing, you know, like radio sets, Nasty Crew, like I said, with Kano and all them lot. And then Jammer comes along with Lord of the Mics, which is obviously clashing. And this is obviously a massive part of grime as well, as it stems from Jamaica, with obviously with the like dancehall and ragga, and they have the sound clashes all the time over there. And then there was a young man who came along and decided to clash Wiley, and his name was Kano. And anyone who hasn't ever seen this, I don't know if you two have seen this, you have to watch Wiley versus Kano clash in Jammer's basement. This is about 2004. And literally, like, Kano's just there, like 18, 19, however old he is. White Jordan, blue Jordan, like vest on, like, and he just spins Wiley. And at this point, Wiley's considered like he's the guy because he's come through and he's the godfather at this point. So everyone is like, whoa, what's going on? What's going on? And all that Kano had out at this point is Boys Love Girls, which is boys are girls and girls are boys, right at the end of his first album. And he came out and he dropped, in my opinion, the greatest UK album of all time, Home Sweet Home, which is the next album everyone needs to listen to. Now, I got you two to listen to this, and I remember, Luke, you said, I didn't realise Kano sampled Black Sabbath.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But to be fair, listening to all the other ones as well, there's so many mad samples. It kind of makes it not that surprising.
Yeah. So this is why I did it. This is why I chose these 5 albums in particular as well, or 5 mixtapes, 5 albums, whatever. It's because they all have such different sounds, right? So Boy in the Corner has its distinct sound in the sense that it's Dizzy sound, right? The way he makes it, it's not quite Esky, but it's Dizzy's. And then Home Sweet Home was Kano's. He had that rock influence while staying grime with a little bit of hip hop, and he can make tunes for the cruddiest road tunes like Mic Check 1 2, Ghetto Kid, P's and Q's, and then he make Night Night. And it's like, okay, right, I can see where this is going here, because he's making tunes for girls and for the roads.
Yeah.
But you can kind of see him coming a mile off, where he's like, this guy's special, and the lyrics on it, crazy. It's just nuts. And at this point now, it's grime's fully evolved, and you've got Westwood Show, and a load of other shows coming up where people are obviously going on and showcasing their talent. UK road rap wasn't really a thing yet. Well, it was, but it hadn't evolved to the point where it was, like with gigs and such, which if anyone wondering, gigs I won't be talking about because he is road rap and not grime. It's 2 different genres, believe it or not.
How do they differ?
BPM.
Okay.
Strictly BPM.
Grime's 140, yeah. Obviously, like, the sound's a bit different, but like gigs never really did a 140. He was always like street shit, like slow. Yeah. So yeah, Giggs is someone who obviously is a legend, but he wasn't grime. So I won't be touching on him. All right, so where was I? Home Sweet Home. This is 2004. So yeah, Westwood, everything's going nuts. Like, people are going up to Westwood, you get millions of views on YouTube. Like, it'll be like 2008. But yeah, people want radio, big time radio, not just pirate.
Yep.
So up in BBC studios, everything, a lot, like, so. And then obviously all these grime crews have been forming, and they're trying to do shows, and basically the police decide to come out with the Form 696, which is what I discussed earlier when I said everyone needs to keep in mind that the police have been suppressing these people, right? So Dizzy Rascals won a Mercury Award. Kano has made an incredible album, right? These guys can't perform live if they wanted to, they'd have to be in a big arena. Because what happened with the 696 is basically police made all promoters and fill out this form, and it would say, right, who's performing? What kind of music are they performing? What kind of crowd is it going to be? How many people are there? What's the ethnicity of the crowd? All this kind of really, really dumb shit. So, like, say for example, who was big in 2005? Like a pop star who was big in 2005, like fucking McFly. So,
Enrique Iglesias.
Yeah, so Enrique Iglesias wanted to do a show, right, in London, right? They'd fill out this form 696, and they'd be like, oh, well, it's going to be a bunch of, like, white ladies there. And I'd be like, oh, cool, yeah, you can go. But then when they go to the artist and they want to do a grime show, gigs didn't perform until, like, 2013, 2012 because of this. When they want to do a show like that, they say, all right, I see 3 males, rah, 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 rah. Yeah, nah, not happening, dangerous. So these people were making incredible albums, getting signed, and then getting no money whatsoever. So then the police want to sit there and blame the music for violence, whereas realistically, it's their actions which cause the violence, because people are trying to make it out with the music, making no money because they can't do shows, being forced back into the cycle, and then, you know, like, trapping, doing whatever. And then the police go, oh, look at this man. He's done this, this, and this. It's like, yeah, because he can't make any money because you're blocking his moves. Like, fair play. Some of the jungle rays back in the day were a little bit violent, but it's not the music that's causing that. It's not their fault. Just put added security on there. Do you know what I mean? There's a fine line between, you know, making sure that there's no trouble and being outright racist. You know, like, and at that point when everyone's shows are getting locked off, no one can perform. You just think, how is the genre going to move forward? And that's why, after my last couple of albums that I'm going to talk about, you see that grime really starts to die off, and people just started going on to hip hop because it was a less aggressive sound, and that's, for those years, that's why it died off. But anyway, yeah. So fuck the police, fuck 12, fuck all police, fuck them all. Fuck the Form 696, which has now been scrapped. Fuck that, all that shit. You're racist, right?
Is it sus laws now they'll use? I don't know where that is. Sus laws.
I have no idea about that, but I don't think they do anything like the 696 anymore because it would just be too much controversy.
Yeah, because I was reading up on the 696 when you said you were going to talk about it, and I was reading that at the start of the forum, the police were filling out the ethnicity of the artists performing, the projected ethnicity ratios of the people in the crowd, and it was basically a way to racially profile musicians and stop BAME, BIPOC, however you want to say it, just ethnic minority artists from actually performing in their comfort zones. Because if you think about it, even if these grime artists, these grime MCs had the fans and the funding and the facilities to perform in massive arenas, that's not what really grime's about.
No,
grime's about basement raves.
Yeah,
grime's about, like, the togetherness of the community as well plays a big part in it.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
You can't really have that in a massive arena. It takes away from the personality of the genre itself.
Yeah, spot on.
I think it's interesting. Oh, go ahead.
No, Luke, come.
I thought it was interesting how you brought the monetization into it, because I had not really looked at it in that way before. I think that especially when drill was getting a load of flack, it's still getting flack, but maybe a year, 2 years ago, I thought they are using, if they've lived that life, they're using their reality to make a better life and try and earn some money, legit money. Surely that should be glorified, not criminalized. Well, I can't think of
penalized.
Penalized. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing, is that I understand, like, some aspect. Like I said, some of the raves were violent, but that is not the musician's fault here. Like, and not all raves are violent. You know what I mean? Like, just because there's one or two that get shot up, like back in 2001, doesn't mean every single rave's going to get shot up. You know what I mean? So all you need to do there is just increase security. And like I said to you two before the podcast, it's just, this is the Met Police and politicians. They do the same thing all the time. Now grime's fine. Grime isn't causing the problem. It's now drill. And eventually drill will be fine. That'll be the next thing that's causing the problem. And it's always them looking to find a scapegoat and get away from the real problem, which is what's going on in the actual communities and all that kind of stuff. And because they can't be asked with that, to put it simply. So yeah, now I've went on that big rant. Say the year's 2006. Mr. Wiley, Mr. Free Wiley, he's been unfairly punished, I think. But anyway, that's.
I don't know. We're gonna leave these things all out because I gotta let that run. Some of the stuff run.
Oh no, we can't let it run. But I think at this point, when you let,
I don't speak. If I speak,
I mean, he's sorry, man. Katie Hopkins has been Twitter for years, man. Come on, just But anyway,
leave it.
Yeah, we'll leave it there. Right. So yeah, Mr. Wiley, Mr. SQB, he drops Tunnel Vision Volume 1, which is a mixtape, which came out after his first album, Treading on Thin Ice. But this mixtape is, you two both listen to it. It's so grimy. It's so raw, and it's got so many features on there. Like so many legendary features. Jamie, Skepta, it's got Frisco, Most of Boy Better Know, it's got I had a feature list somewhere, but
I was going to ask you, who is on where is it? Oh, E3 Talent. Who is that?
Oh, is it God's Gift? Hang on. This is sorry, viewers watching. This is putting some music and just
cut this thing.
It's Maverick. It's Maverick. Yeah, no, I'd never heard of him before or after that album. He's not.
I think it's a lady. I think it's a lady. I can't.
Yeah, I might be. Yeah. So yeah, but like some of the people on that, and one of the things I did realize is God's Gift was also on. On Boy in the Corner was also on there. Scorcher, so many good. And the best part about Tunnel Vision for me is that it was mainly produced by Wiley. So like, not only is he the artist, he's also producing it, and that's the sound he made with Esky, and that was such an important sound and carried on. And like I said, these albums are all sounding different, which is something I find nowadays with young British sound. Like drill, it all sounds the same. And I put a tweet out about it earlier. I said, where's the creativity in this? Everyone sounds the same. I got a 12-inch Rambo and I put so-and-so on my spliff. And it's like, well, yeah, but like, where are you going from here? Like, you can only say that so many times before, it gets a bit boring. Yeah. So, this is why, this is what, again, SU sound incredible. Very, like, noticeable. Like, you can tell that it's his sound as soon as you hear it. Great features. Just Wiley at his best. Like, this isn't Wiley at the Clash Stormzy, it's the Wiley that was in his prime and actually good. Not just some crackhead that goes on Twitter and bumbles on. Anyway, besides the point.
It's you said it was like, it just sounds super grimy.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Which it does in the parts where it's meant to be grimy, but I feel like the good thing about this album is because it's a 55-minute long project, 55 minutes of grime could be like a bit frying to like the ears and mind. It's also got some like R&B, like Usher-esque choruses, like Usher-esque hooks, like Mary J. Blige. Like, you get those vibes when they chop up the soul sample for the hook, and it's just like a really, really nice relief from like you said, it's an aggressive sound. So it's a very aggressive sound that's being cut by like some really like smooth vocals and a lot of the hooks of the songs, which I feel like just adds to it.
Yeah. I mean,
I feel like the instrumentals at the end is just flexing. Production on that. It's powers. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. So I feel like, like this was again as well. These were like OG grime flows. It sounds stupid when you say it, but like the old school grime flows were different. And it's the kind of ones where you kind of sit there and you just screw up your face and go, that's fucking hard. So yeah. And then on the same year is the other album that everyone needs to listen to is The Movement Tempo Specialist. Now, the reason I chose this is that not only is it a great project, but it's got, I can't with a good heart leave these 4 or 5 MCs that are on here out of my lists because they are all just so legendary, and I love them all so much. Oh my god! Will that shut up?
Who's dinging you?
Fucking dinging.
Put your phone on silent, boss.
It's not. It's the Safari, right? Sorry, technical issues.
Shut the window.
Technical issues.
Close the tab.
I'm not going off either.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. What was I going to say? Yeah. So these 4 MCs that mainly comprise of the movement, and there were more, like Lightning and Devlin, and also Shout Out Devlin nearly made the list with Tales from the Crypt, but it was just a little bit too hip hop based, and plus the fact he's a proper Brexiteer, kind of just pass that one off the list. Right. So so the 4 artists that really comprise the movement is Getz, Wretch 32, Scorcher, and Merkston, and they are, especially 3 of them, maybe not Merc so much, but Scorcher, Wretch, and Getz are just incredible MCs with all incredible bodies of work. And I thought it was a little bit of a cheat, if I'm being honest. I just thought, well, they're all on the tape together.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I think that Merkston's still mad, and if
exactly,
he's not if he's not your favorite, that's crazy. Like,
they're just all so talented, and I thought, right, everyone's got to go listen to this. And another reason why I love it so much is that the samples on it are incredible. It's not.
Oh yeah.
It's not. It's like they've sampled hip hop and old school stuff, and oh shit. Oh fuck. Sorry guys. Zoom call's going funny. Right.
It's chopping up the soul samples.
Yeah, and old school hip hop stuff and all that kind of stuff. And what they've done is they chopped it up at a 140 BPM. So it sounds so good, and they suit it so much, and you can see how versatile its made gets. Because if you go and watch the Fire in the Booth Cypher from years ago, which really was the emergence of Stormzy, they put on James Brown, and everyone was like, what the fuck is this? Like, how are we going to spit this? And then literally just pick up the mic and just fucking go, and everyone just goes nuts. Like, literally, this album is just incredible. Or mixtape it is. And, you know, the first tune's about, I'm not too sure what Merkson's case was, but him getting locked up. And they said, and it's like, basically how they can't believe it. He's innocent whatsoever. And I don't think that's what he still features on the album mixtape a lot, but not as much as someone like Getz. And going through, you've got Devlin's is it real artists, something like actual artists. That's a tune. I should have this written down, but I don't. I'm actually freestyling everything. Actual artists, which is an absolute banger. Getz is just one of them people, right? Where I could put a top 5 and it's all Getz. He's so good. Like, I don't have any other way of saying it. He's just that good, and he's got. I mean, I wanted to put his latest album on. His latest album, and because there's a tune on there with Chip called Shellington Crezza, and everyone needs to listen to that. That tune is. I've got no words for it. Him and Chip are just. I've lost for words. Right, anyway, I'm rambling about this. Everyone go listen to the Movement Tempo Specialist. Go listen to Wiley. Go listen to Kano and Boy in the Corner. And now we've got to our final mixtape, which is 2007. And this is where I need to draw back to the Westwood freestyles, because Wiley has been blowing up, and he brought through 16-year-old Chipmunk and Ice Kid. And Chipmunk and Ice Kid, they both shelled it, but Chipmunk's got one of the most memorable verses at 16-year-old, where he's like, we've got gal on my Samsung, gal on my Nokia, and Big Berries and Batia. Anyway, yeah, so it's just iconic, absolutely iconic. So then he came through with his first proper mixtape, which was A League of My Own in 2007, and he's 16 at this point. And the reason I chose this one is because not only because I think Chip is one of the greatest to do it, but also because it's a different sound to all the others. Chip never wanted to be a bad man. He just wanted to make music. He says that all the time in the music. Like, I'm not a bad man. His brother was a bad man, but he wasn't at all, and he didn't want to be. And he understood from the start that oh, I can make the same amount of money from a verse as I can from, you know, doing a shifting an ounce of weed or whatever. It's like, why not just make music instead and start killing it? So he started doing that. Absolutely duppy in it. It was just incredible. And you know, it's like that. It was that open up a new lane as well for like someone like me who never wants to be a bad man. Or maybe I did when I was like 17, but I'm 23 now. I don't want to be a bad man. If you're my age and you want to be a bad man and you're screaming about how much of a bad man you are, you need to grow the fuck up, get a job, get employed, and just stop trying to be a bad man at the age of 23. Stop. So yeah, it's for kids. It's a kids game. Stop. Just fucking grow up. Pay some taxes.
Okay.
That's true, but
Yeah.
yeah, there comes a point where you have to just grow up. Just grow the fuck up. Yeah, so yeah, Chip understood that from early. Rate him highly. He's just very good. And then yeah, so those are my albums. But obviously, like I said, Grime fell off because of the 696. Everyone kind of converted to hip hop and went away. And then Grime was only really being carried by like JK and the Birmingham lot. You had a bit of P Money in there, D Double, and people that kind of didn't really transition to hip hop well. And then out of nowhere, Mr. Big Michael, Big Storms, I like paintings, I like porn. He came up. He came up and he just brought the whole thing back, the whole genre back. Now we are where we are. Everyone came back to Grime. Everyone started making P's off it again because of Storms.
What about Skepta there?
Skepta had a very weird. He would still do Grime, but he was
doing hip hop as well.
Like Rescue Me. Do you know what I mean? Like he had that hip hop stage where it was like wasn't quite grimy. Like he would still do it, but he wasn't. That's what I mean. People were trying to make their money now. People were trying to do shows. People were trying because they had all these years of no money. So now they were trying to make their money. So they shifted away from Grime. Now that's why it died, because it got really shut down by the police, really. So
yeah, I mean, but for bringing it back, I mean, for me,
you think Skepta? Oh, right, of course.
I'm saying that at the time. Well,
that's not me.
Yeah, that's not me.
Yeah,
was at the same level as the Wicked Scareman feat and stuff like that. And
I think
I don't know. Maybe that's just because I didn't know it before, and those two things hit me at the same time.
I think That's Not Me did it to an extent, to the point where Stormzy could do Shut Up.
Yeah.
It opened that one, and then Stormzy got 30 million views on Shut Up, and that was that.
Yeah, okay.
To be fair, the first time I ever heard about Grime, I was maybe like, I think 15, 16 years old. I was just some kid in Pakistan, and Stormzy made his way across the pond all the way to Pakistan. I don't think Kano, Wiley, Skepta, they would have ever made that leap without Stormzy being able to be there.
Yeah. I don't think Stormzy's the best grime artist by any stretch of the imagination. I think he's actually, I'm not going to go into my opinion on Stormzy, but he is the most marketable by far.
Oh yeah.
And he has done. I would say he's done the most for the UK scene out of anyone ever.
Well, Glastonbury.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so big up Stormzy. You're not the king of grime. You didn't reply to Chip.
That was hard. It's hard.
How are you not replying to Chip? Chip would have bun you anyway, but don't worry about it.
The album out killed the reply. Album out soon. The mixtape out soon at the end of this. That killed it. Like, I reckon.
He's just. Yeah. I mean, he is doing it for hype. Chip does it all the time, but at the same time, he can handle it. Do you know what I mean? Like if he wants to start a beef for someone, you're done. Like, so just don't reply, man. Exactly. Don't reply. It's a trap. He's doing it for a reason. So I understand you two have got some questions on it. What we'll do is we'll take a quick break because the Zoom call's about to finish. Or what will seem like a quick break for people watching. For us, it'll be about 30 seconds. But just need to make a new Zoom call because we're broke boys. And then we'll get into some questions about the genre. Right, sweet. Right, in a sec. Right, and we're back. So yeah, quick disclaimer. I didn't mention every artist in history there. If I didn't talk about your favorite artist, please don't hate me. Like, I only chose 5, and I was freestyling off the top of my head. If I forgot something, it isn't because I'm stupid, it's because I forgot it. All right, cool. So yeah, you two obviously want to ask me some questions about it. Feel free to fire away.
Do you want to go first, Fo?
You can go first, mate. I've got some questions about the Dizzy album, but other than that, I'm not.
Okay. I want to ask you about the hip hop stage, because all three of the ones I can think of in your list, Kano, Wiley, and Dizzy, all went off and did hip hop stuff.
Chip did it.
Some pop out. Yeah, Chip did as well. Some pop singles.
Mm-hmm.
Some working with like Chasing Status,
Mm.
etc., etc. Like, how do you feel about that stage of grime, where they could have been? Well, I suppose it's the money, isn't it? But
That's what it is. So I think you forget people that are like grime purists, like, they went and chased the money. It's like, well, yeah, like if they didn't chase the money, they wouldn't be able to do the music anymore. Do you know what I mean? They'd have to go and work full-time jobs. So they've got kids and stuff, so they have to go and chase the money in order to keep making music. I think that stage though was very important in the UK sound though, because like I said, grime opened that door for them to be able to go and do that. So I think Chasing Status, especially, shout out Chasing Status, because they made some bangers all of them together. But then, like, someone who I obviously didn't mention just then, but came up from grime, is Tiny Temper.
Yeah.
Tiny Temper became massive because of hip hop, and people saw what Tiny Temper was doing and thought, fuck it, let's do it. Like, do you know what I mean? So I think you can't blame them for going there. Chip got signed by T.I., for fuck's sake. Like, he went over and lived in America. Like that for me, I think I still love their music even when they made it then. I'm not gonna sit there and go, because it's not 140 BPM, you're all cunts. Like, nah, man. Like, it's cool. Get your money, man, because that's almost the most important thing. Like, if you still love your music, obviously that's the most important, but money is second.
yeah, fair play. I mean, that stuff probably got me into grime at a later age, because I was hearing the stuff that was getting played on the radio, and then hearing Kano and Skepta when I was like 16 was like a familiar sound.
Yeah,
plenty of other people got into it, but that's definitely what influenced us to get back into it later.
Yeah, I think something I didn't touch on is Kidulthood and Adulthood by Noel Clarke.
Right, yeah.
Those two albums did massive bits for the UK scene. It's what got me into grime originally, because I used to love that. And I remember, like, I'd watch it and I'd be like 10, 11, 12 watching this, and then it would influence the way that I'd speak. And then people would be like, Mike, why are you talking black? And why do you like all this? And rah, rah, rah. Well, fuck all you and your racial stereotypes. You got grime in your playlist right now, don't you, cunt? So fuck all you. Like, those obviously some massive bits. Those films had massive features on there, like Bashi, Chip was on the soundtracks. Dizzy was on the soundtrack. I can't listen to Just a Rascal without thinking of Kidulthood, the scene where they're running down the stairs after jumping Sam in his house. Every time, that's all I hear. That's when I hear it, I'm just like, yeah, that's what they're doing. No, that's just synonymous in my head. So yeah, I think those films really helped the scene, and that's what got me into it anyway, as a white kid who's, like 200 miles or whatever it is, 100 miles away from London. So yeah, Fo, you got any questions about Boy in the Corner?
Yeah, it's not even a question, I realise. It's just sort of like an observation. And obviously the people listening won't really know, but when we talked about US hip-hop albums, I talked about how in Igor, Tyler was sort of like, you can tell he's been searching for the sound for ages and ages. And like with Boy in the Corner as well. And I've not listened to the new Dizzy album. I think it's E3AF.
Yeah.
But with his EP, is it
Rasket?
Not
Rasket and Don't Gas Me, isn't it?
Don't Gas Me.
I think it's Don't Gas Me.
Yeah.
Don't Gas Me. You can see that he's still wearing a lot of like Boy in the Corner on his sleeve when he's making his music, even though like Pattern and Vibes, stuff like that, Money Right, Don't Gas Me, they're all like very different sounding songs. You can tell that this is just like something he's worked on since Boy in the Corner.
Yeah.
Because like I Love You is, you could put that in the Don't Gas Me EP and I wouldn't bat an eyelid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think that's a good point. Especially like Dizzy's got this very similar sound going through all of his albums, despite the fact that they're all different sounding. It sounds really weird saying it, but they sound similar, but they all sound different. And like even with like the Chase and Status tune, Heavy, that still sounds like something that Dizzy would put on his albums now, like his own solo album. But I think obviously he's evolved from so like Dizzy on Boy in the Corner was obviously very grimy. He had like things like Brand New Day, which is a little less grimy, a little more like reminiscent. But then he turned a bit more poppy. I mean, I'll never forgive the fact. I know I say Get Your Money, but I'll never forgive the fact he made a tune with Robbie Williams. I'm sorry, bro. Like I love Dizzy.
It's fair. No.
I think he's incredible. But
It's a dead Robbie Williams tune as well.
Bro, it's so bad. It's so bad. I can't forgive it. I can't. So, yeah. Fucking hands. So we need to take a moment of silence for Dizzy. Right. Right. So yeah, but yeah, Rasket is, especially I saw Rasket when he dropped Rasket as Boy in the Corner 2.0, but almost like Boy in the Corner revisited. Now I'm old. Like now I'm double the age I was. That's what Rasket sounded like to me, and Rasket was a very good album.
Definitely.
But yeah, Dizzy's got his own sound. He always has. Because he's always been into music production, so you always have that own sound, especially when you've been there from the start. Wiley's obviously got his own sound. They've all got their own sounds, really. Jamie's got his own sound, even. Do you know what I mean? So, I think that's what makes grime so different. Though, because as long as it's at 140, mate, you can do what you want. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's the only thing that's like hip hop. You'd have to have like a certain sound. Hip hop can be any tempo, but it's a certain sound or certain thing. Classical music has to have a certain thing. Grime, you can do what you want as long as it's at 140. Like, you could honestly just have people smashing bins at 140 BPM and they'd be like, oh, it's a grime tune, yeah. You know what I mean? Like, that's just the way it is. As long as it's at 140, it's grime.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
You can have that Black Sabbath feature on a Kano album, and you can also have Ray J. Blige. That's the best examples I can think of.
Yeah, at 140. Yeah. It's cool.
Yeah.
Obviously, if it's like there's no vocals on it, it's not grime. Like if someone makes a drum and bass tune at 140, I'm not gonna go, that's grime.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah.
Like, there are some exceptions to the rule, but it's just for me, it's just it's an incredible genre because it's well and truly from the streets. There's no, you know how they always say in hip hop and stuff about how like Jerry Heller gets involved, and it's like it's not. There's no outside controlling forces. It's literally just the sound of the youth. That's all it is.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. It's such a beautiful thing. But yeah, like especially now, because I think it's very hard to work out what grime actually is. When people hear it, they don't know if it's grime or hip hop or whatever, because it's not as distinctive. Like Chip can make a tune. Chip can make an album and do something that's grime that sounds hip hop, and you're just like, oh shit. But it's not until you actually you put it into something like fucking Logic Pro and see it's 140 and it's got like the special the hi-hats and the snares and that way it's okay, yeah, that's grime. But I think it's just got to that point now where it's so overproduced that it doesn't sound grimy anymore, which is why none of those albums are actually in my list for people to have to listen to. You can go listen to them and enjoy them. They're good albums, but they're not grime. Well, they are, but they're not grimy. So to say.
Yeah. I get you, yeah.
So, any more questions or should we move on?
I think that's it.
I think that's it, boss. Yeah.
Sweet. Right, so which one of you wants to go next?
Enjoy
monologuing while I sit back.
I could go first if you want, mate.
Go for it. I think that'd be easier.
Right,
Yes.
So, by the way, anyone who wants to try monologuing for as long as we're about to, it's so hard, so we are bound to forget things, especially me, the most unprepared person in the lot. I was like, oh, it's going to be easy. I know these albums inside out. As soon as you've got a camera on you and you're speaking into a microphone to an imaginary people that aren't there, fucking hell. Now it gets a bit more tough.
Also, if you really want to test it, we need guests to hop on the podcast.
Yeah,
100%.
we actually do need guests. If you want to come on, come on, please.
Right. So I'm talking about alternative music that's from UK artists. It's not necessarily that UK alternative music is its own specific genre. That's a completely different sound to US alternative music. Because the whole point of alternative music, in my opinion, is that it doesn't really have its set umbrella. It's just that if you can't define it as a specific genre, it just falls under alternative. And obviously you get your stemmings from like alt rock back in the 90s and the 80s and the early 2000s. You get like your Pixies, your Joy Divisions, your Nirvanas, and they've obviously like helped create alternative artists today, and like they've defined the sound that you have today. For example, I'm going to be talking about King Cruel in my list, and you can tell, even though he's got such a melancholy sound and such like somber vocals and instrumentals, you can tell that he's taken just Unknown Pleasures by Joy Division is the sort of, it's the Illmatic of,
We're always going to refer to that.
How much is going to be the Illmatic of each genre?
By the way, just to interrupt, the King Cruel feature on Kendrick album. Was he on To Pimp a Butterfly?
That's a good question.
I don't know.
I don't think so.
I'm gonna Google that one and have a look. Feel free to carry on.
Fair, carry on, for you.
Yeah, but no matter what alternative album you look at, you will definitely see either some influences from the Strokes, the Pixies, Nirvana, Joy Division, one of those like early alt rock bands that have really paved the way. But the first album I'm going to talk about is Process by Sampha. And the question is, how do you get from like Joy Division, Unknown Pleasures to Process by Sampha? Because Process by Sampha is such a like silky and like, I don't know what other word to describe it as, but like ethereal. Like it feels heavenly.
Ooh.
It feels heavenly.
Ooh, I like that word. Yeah, all right.
Yeah,
Okay.
like
I get you.
when I listen to that, I just imagine like white clouds, all white.
Yeah.
I'm walking through heaven right now. I'm just vibing. But the issue, like the thing is, it's still so sad. He makes it sound so surreal and like ethereal while keeping it so like melancholy. And obviously, like this album's got all the credit it deserves. It did win the Mercury Prize in I think 2017, and I think he's from Croydon. I'm not entirely sure, but Sampha.
Yeah,
he's from South London. I know that for sure, and you can tell like how packed full of emotion this album is. With like, for good reason, the most popular song on the album is No One Knows Me Like the Piano. And when you're just singing into it, it was like, no one knows me like the piano in my mother's home. You can just imagine yourself, because when you're 15, 16 and you're in your parents' house, you've still not moved out yet, and you enjoy music, consuming or making music as much as Sampha did at his age, or like as much as we enjoy consuming music at our age. When you really find a way to vent your emotions as a 16-year-old, you can really just feel that emotion flow, and he can translate his emotions so well in this album. And even with like songs that are as abstract as like Plastic 100 Degrees, which is what he opens the album with, like even though the lyrics are really abstract and you don't know for sure what he's actually talking about, you can just still feel the emotions and the themes that he's like pushing towards you. And like songs like Reverse Faults as well, just like it's the same thing, and he keeps that same theme so consistently, where it's like an ethereal sound and like such an uplifting sound followed by like such sad themes that he's portraying in his lyrics. And that's just an unbelievable feat that he's managed to keep that over. It's only 10 songs, but it is 40 minutes. And 40 minutes with not a lot of lyrics, because he stretches his words, but then he's singing quite a bit. Yeah. So to keep it that concise and that clinical while maintaining that theme is just really impressive to me.
I think you make a really good point with how he translates his emotions onto the album. There's a lot of different kind of tools he uses on it, but it's just you can really feel his kind of soul going straight into it.
Oh yeah,
I think
like
I listened to it for the first time today, and I just put it on in my headphones. And the one thing I noticed about Sanford is, even though I didn't really pay any attention to the lyrics, his voice is it could send you to sleep. It's that not it's like it's not like boring. It's that lovely. Like you
Yeah.
put it on and you kind of like you pay attention to it, but you don't pay attention to it, and it's just such a nice it's such a nice
Yeah, it's
sound.
beautiful. Yeah.
It's just like,
I've got here in my notes. Can you see it? Where my finger is, it just says silk.
So,
yeah, it's spot on. Like it's one of those voices where it's like it's not going to grab you. Like if you hear it, it's not going to be like you're not going to be like, holy shit, I have to pay attention. But it's just like you can put it on. You know, you just smoke a fat fucking joint to it and just chill the fuck out. Do you know what I mean? Like that's the kind of music it is.
That's sort of like the theme that 4 out of 5 of the albums on my list follow, where they're not ear catchers. They're not something you'd be like walking along the street and someone's like blasting out the car. You'd be like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
I need to Shazam that right now. It's not that kind of music.
No, it's not.
This is the kind of music where you're just like chilling at home. You're playing some video games. You got that in the background. You're just doing some work. You got that in the background. It's just like, it's relaxing. But then when you actually listen to the messages they're portraying, it's completely different. Yeah. So it's an easy listen when you want it to be, but when you want to pay attention to what it's saying, it can be a whole emotional journey.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Have you heard the stuff he's done with? I've shown you the stuff we've done with Subject. We mixed Incredible into Wildfire by Subject. That's not him anyway. That's Little Dragon. But
we did do that.
Little Dragon is so sick as well.
That should be the promotion for this podcast. Yeah,
Little Dragon is sick as well.
But yeah, that you can really hear the influence he's from Subject, the kind of more synthesized sounds that have come from the Subject album into what he's doing himself.
And that's the thing, is like you can tell that Sampha's taken influences from like more modern sources as well. So obviously you got your Joy Divisions and your Nirvanas that have influenced the sound of this. So like the melancholy Nirvana songs, like Heart Shaped Box, have their influences on Process by Sampha. But then you also see the more modern influences. Like I had names on the top of my head, but I've gone blank. Shit.
I'll say Blood Orange. Yeah,
Blood Orange is a modern influence, yeah. And you can see I had such a good name.
Kind of Rory. I think Rory's on that Subtract album. Maybe he's not that big, but
yeah, I got my names. Yeah, you can tell like Sampha's taken influence from like people like Little Dragon, like Flying Lotus as well.
Yeah,
like that smooth ethereal sound, because 80s alt rock was still quite raw and quite like rough around the edges, and what modern alt, especially in the UK, in my opinion, is like is either like made it super rough to the point where it's a jagged edge, or just polished it and to the point where it's reflective. And it's either end of the spectrum, and how that variation just makes it so enjoyable to listen to. And
definitely.
The second album I want to talk about, but yeah, Test by Sampha, Mercury winner 2017, banging album. Go listen to it.
Very beautiful album.
Go cry and or make babies to it.
Yes,
yeah.
My second album might be a bit of cheating because it's Negro Swan by Blood Orange. It's a 2018 release. It might be cheating because Blood Orange claims New York, I believe, over London. But I think he does. But he is still from London.
Yeah,
I know. You can't change where you're from.
He sings in an American accent, and I was like,
but he talks in a UK accent.
So he just talk songs on that album where he sounds like he's from Dagenham, isn't it?
He's from the end. Yeah, he's from the end. Yeah.
So like you can choose where you hail from. You can't choose where you're from.
It's true.
So he's London. He's London enough to make this list.
It's like how Israel Adesanya fights out of Auckland. He's not from New Zealand. He just fights out of there.
Yeah, but this again, it's same as Sampha, where it's such a smooth album. If you don't want to listen to it as a emotional piece of work and just as a piece of music, but if you listen to the emotions and the themes he's putting forward, the themes of self-love and like accepting yourself even though you're struggling with insecurities. Just it's so heartwarming. And I'll still remember the first time I listened to this album. It was actually Luke that showed me this album to start off with, and that I can't remember which song it's on. I feel like it's after the Diddy feature where they talk about doing too much.
Yeah, that's such a good little. Yeah,
and whereas like it is my eternal resolution to always do too much. And like you two know me, I'm quite an extravagant person. Like, I'm quite intense.
Yeah.
I do too much a lot of the time.
Yeah.
I do too much a lot of the time.
Overdoing
and that
it.
just like, yeah, it made me feel comfortable with like, so what if I'm over fucking doing it?
Yeah.
This is who I am. So that those themes of self-love just really, really hit you. And songs like Holy Will and Charcoal Baby.
Is it Ian Isaiah?
Yeah, Ian Isaiah.
Holy Will. Oh my God. Oof.
I can't even do that. The way he hits those high notes. Oh my Lord.
It's gospel, man. Yeah.
He's a very talented guy, I would say that. Also, I've only listened to it once. So.
But then you've got that, and then you've got features from Diddy, you've got features from ASAP Rocky. We won't really talk about that feature.
No. No. I set up for this.
Please talk about it.
I actually really like that feature.
Oh, I don't know, mate.
I think he really suits the beat, and I think the way he does. Honestly, I really liked it. I was listening to it. I was like, this is actually not bad.
He suits the beat. I feel like Rocky could have done a lot better. He sounds too monotone.
Yeah.
Run a mess. This is like, mate, the bars are good. But it's such an emotional album that to have him with such a mundane and like monotone verse, even though the bars are good, it doesn't carry it enough.
I thought it was a nice break. Me personally, I thought it was a nice break.
That's fair. But then that's music, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like what he's saying is just completely out of place on the album. It's all like kind of woke stuff, and he's coming up here like, I don't know, I can't remember what he says, but it's not positive.
He says rocky stuff. He says rocky stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it was kind of fun at the time, and I remember listening to it in the car, and it's like, okay, really, I'm not sure this is where it needs to be. You know?
It's fun to listen to when you're listening to it for the sake of music, but if you're looking at it as like an emotional piece of work, it sort of detracts from the point. Yeah, which might be what he's going for. He might be going for a little relief break, which I don't know. I haven't spoken to him about this. I hope to maybe one day.
But that is kind of what I felt, because he uses, you know how he uses like the old guy samples at the start and end of that tune. That's what I kind of felt like. Right, this is a little break on the album where it could be a little bit more fun, a little bit more like a not a radio tune, but like, you know, it's a little bit different.
Yeah,
like,
but that I feel like you get that in a better way with like Charcoal Baby, because in Charcoal Baby there's like a minute to I think 75 seconds where it's just instrumental in the middle of the song, and I feel like that's a much better emotional break as opposed to like ASAP Rocky's sort of.
Man, we love Pretty Flucker out here, man.
We do.
Like, I can't talk bad on him, man. He's one of my favorite rappers ever. You know. I mean, sorry to go on.
He's got bad features. This just got to come out.
Leave him alone. Leave him alone. He was on Rikers. He was on Rikers Island. Who cares about his features? He was on Rikers Island fighting. He was fighting. And you said how they were fighting in the showers and people were slipping on semen and shit. He's a different breed, Rakeem.
All right.
Point is, such an incredible emotional album. Again, he's worn his emotions on his sleeve. He's like talked about past struggles where like he's doing too much, or he feels like he's bringing too much unnecessary energy to the room. And as time has gone on, he's gone from like an emotionally insecure, unsure of where he stands teen to like a grown-ass fucking man. Like, he backs his sauce now, and backing your sauce is the most important thing you can do for your esteem, no matter who you are.
As long as you don't get lost in it. As long as you don't get lost in the sauce, you're right.
Oh yeah, and then the fact that he's managed to get names like Diddy and A$AP Rocky and Steve Lacy, and then people that are probably quite big, but I've never really heard of. Like
There's a lot of really obscure stuff
Georgia
as well.
and Muldrow, Project Pat, Taishi, Janet Mock. No idea who they are, but they, no matter what end of the spectrum of fame they're from, they all pull in, and like contribute to this incredible piece of work. Bar one verse, but
The Diddy verse is actually sick.
I love that Diddy verse. That Diddy verse
It's not that crazy or nothing, but
it's not as emotional as I would like it to be, but the way it flows into the rest of the song and the rest of the album, really does it for me.
That's it, yeah.
But then moving on to that, we have my favorite album of all time, and I could talk about this forever. We have Zoom Form by James Blake. And honestly, this album just takes me on an emotional journey every single time I listen to it. It's Silk again.
Before you get into this, where the fuck did James Blake come from? Like, because the first time I heard of him was the tune with Chance the Rapper. Like, where was he in the industry plan? Like, what was it? Like,
I honestly, mate.
Where did he come from?
He put out that
it's like Retrograde and stuff like that.
Yeah, that album.
I can't remember the albums now. He's got two other albums.
He puts out a lot of music, to be fair, but self-titled James Blake, the first album he put out, and it's very, very, very good.
All right, he just kind of blew up from his first album.
Yeah, and like he just sort of gone from there, and I feel like with his albums, he's sort of like he's always been good, but he's never really like hit the mark. And Assume Form is like where he's perfected his craft, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just he can't get much better from here, but he's just going to tweak from here.
Yeah.
And because I feel like with James Blake, I really liked the album, but it was a bit too long, and it like couldn't retain my focus for I think it was an hour and 10 minutes. Yeah, hour and 10 minutes it goes on. And then Overgrown is like, it's concise. It's 40 minutes, but it's not as clinical as it needs to be. And The Color in Anything as well is an incredible album. But again, 1 hour, 16 minutes. That's a tedious listen.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think he misses a lot in those albums. They're not as clear and concise as
But then in this, he hits 13 songs, 50 minutes. 50 minutes of incredible music where like he's got big features here. He's got Travis Scott, he's got Metro Boomin, he's got Moses Sumney. I don't know if Michael have heard of Moses Sumney, but an incredible artist I think he's from New York. No.
Oh, and he's from South. I don't know if the South. I'm not sure where, but
California?
Oh, yeah. We're Googling it.
Yeah, a little quick Google. But he is from San Bernardino, California.
Oh.
San Bernardino, California is where he's from.
Oh, he's tweeting about the South during the election. My bad.
But yeah, Moses Sumney, incredible alternative artist. Grey, incredible album. Not UK alt, but definitely do listen to it. GRAE. But yeah, point is he's got Travis Scott, Metro Boomin, Moses Sumney, Rosalia, Andre 3 Stacks. And they all put in incredible verses, incredible features. And like such different vibes that all portray the same scene throughout the track list. And Mile High is the song with Metro Boomin and Travis Scott. And you would think Travis Scott and James Blake would be a bit of an odd mix. But when Travis Scott, the way Metro Boomin mixes them two together, it just, I don't have words.
Metro Boomin's a G. He really is. He's a guy. Metro
and then every single song sends me like, I've listened to this album enough to picture a music video in my own head every single time I close my eyes to one of these songs. And like each one of them is just like so different from the other because of the themes. They're all quite similar. It's a love album. It's a love album. But when you talk about my favorite song on the album, I'll Come To, he's talking about so his love interest has just exited a relationship. I was like, I'll fit right in between the cracks between you and him. And I'll say whatever I need if it's the last thing I do. He's showing the desperation to want to be with this person. And if you may have felt that over some point of your life, when he unlocks that, it's just unbelievable.
We've all been there.
Yeah, we've all been there. We've all been there. And
I'm just feeling, this is exactly how you talk about this album every day. Every time you're asked about it, it's bad. I can feel the same feels that have been happening for the last 2 years, man. It's deep,
man.
It's the same feels.
Like, where's the catch? Like, sort of, it's too good to be true. 3 Stacks comes in with an unbelievable verse on how there are so many red flags, but because everything's a red flag when you're wearing rose-colored glasses, you don't really notice it. And it's just the themes that you see, and when you relate it back to the life that every person's lived their own different life, but when you look back on your life, it is applicable to every single person that listens to this album in a different situation that they've lived. And when you see that, because everyone's been in the situation where they've seen red flags wearing rose-colored glasses and they've done nothing.
Yeah.
And when you listen to that and look back on it, you're just like, fuck, man.
Them red flags just be waving. They just be waving. Wait, let me take off my glasses quick. Oh shit.
And I do have some criticisms for this album. I'm not gonna lie, it is my favorite album of all time. I stand by that always. But with the last 3 tracks, again, he just does what he's been weak for, where he like fails to retain the attention for the last stretch. Because Lullaby for My Insomniac is an incredible closer, but Don't Miss It and Mulholland before that. It was actually last year I was listening to it, so maybe like a year after it came out. And I was just listening to it after a month. It had been a while since I listened to it. And Don't Miss It came on. I was like, this was never on the album before. Am I listening to a deluxe version?
Yeah.
Am I listening to the fact that, like, for an album I've loved since it came out, for me to miss those 2 tracks completely means that, like, it's just not retained my attention enough.
Yeah. I was only freaking out because I really like Lullaby for My Insomniac.
No, Lullaby for My Insomniac is an incredible close.
Yeah. I couldn't listen. Like,
it's been 2 years it's been 2 years since this album came out, and I still could not, like, I could probably give you a tune for every song on the album except those 2.
Is that not the case of a lot of albums? When you hear the songs towards the end, you think that because you are at the end of the album and you're kind of there, and if it gets too long or whatever, you've been there and you're fucking, what song is this? Like, you know, like, you get to that.
But
like
that,
even the songs I
is
said,
a
the
weakness of the album, though. That's
is that not? That's what I'm saying. Is it a weakness of the album, of all albums? Is it to do with the attention span of the listener rather than the album itself? If those songs are at the start, would it be a different story?
See, I feel like in terms of the transitions of the album, and the sequencing of the album, these songs are in the perfect place.
Oh yeah.
But I could have definitely gone from Power On straight to Lullaby for My Insomniac.
Mm-hmm. I've got a deep take about this, yeah. So, because Alternate covers a lot of different styles and people have different tastes, people are drawn from different experiences, you're always going to have that on an alternative album because your tastes are going to be are not going to match up exactly with every song.
Oh, that's completely fair. I feel like that's a completely fair point.
Mm.
Like, I wouldn't have thought about it like that because I'm just listening to it as like, this is my favorite album and I want to love every single second of this.
That's a good point.
Takes, bro. Takes.
That's fair, man. That's fair.
Bro, even like Blonde. Would you say Blonde's alternative? It is really. It is alternative.
Yeah,
but
it's like
even that. I think for me that is as close to when it comes to alternative, as close to a perfect album as it gets. And even on there, I'm a bit like, there's some songs which I'm like,
yeah,
exactly.
Just the way it is.
Right. Should we start a new call then?
Yeah, we'll take a quick break again.
Yeah.
And in the break, I'm actually gonna try and edit in the video of us doing incredible.
Yes, please.
I'll try and do that. Right, so we're gonna join that in the break. Right, I'll catch you in a bit. Right.
All right.
What the fuck?
And we're back after another break because we're broke boys. If anyone noticed me on my phone, I'm very sorry. Arsenal lost 3-0 and I've been getting banter. So just a quick thing we want to add. As you can see, Luke especially looks a bit like a nonce right now. That's because it's November. What we're going to do
We'll do soon, don't worry.
Yeah,
You snitched me out, mate.
in the description below, there'll be a link to the Movember if you want to go and donate. Especially because this is going on the internet while you're looking like a paedophile. So,
I'm not listening. Wow.
You know, it's a worthy cause. You know, some people run.
Maybe you didn't have to put it like that. I thought obvious. It's going to be obvious that it's just November, and I'm just out here.
Well, people might
supporting the cause.
People might think we were recording it back in October. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, what people don't know is this is actually September.
This is the 8th of November. This is.
Remember the 8th of November.
Yeah, this is actually November. It's just bonfire night. Free up the Guy Fawkes, fuck the government. So yeah, Fo's just discussed 3 of his albums, and he's got 2 more to discuss. So Fo, if you want to take it away.
Yeah, we've got the boy from Southwark now. We got King Cruel, the saddest man.
From where?
Southwark.
Oh, Southwark.
Southwark. I thought you said South Park, mate.
No.
Oh, right, Southwark.
But also the saddest man on the UK scene.
Is it because he looks sad? He's just.
Oh no, he sounds so sad.
He looks sad as well.
Yeah.
So I like my sad music. I like my James Blakes. I like my Samphers. I like my Blood Oranges. But this is depressing.
Very monotone.
Very monotone. But like, his voice is monotone, but his music and his instrumentals are so like orchestral and well organized that it doesn't matter how miserable and how monotone his voice is, because that's just adding to his charm at this point. As weird as it is to say.
He sounds like depression personified or some shit like that. Just,
oh yeah.
He's king of the sad boys.
He is king of the sad boys. And the reason like I've chosen this album as opposed to his much more popular debut album, which is 6 Feet Beneath the Moon, is again the reason I feel like James Blake, as he informed, is like.
Wait, what's the album called? I don't know if you said it.
So Man Alive is the name of my album that I've chosen, and I've chosen it above 6 Feet Beneath the Moon and The Ooze because they both span. So The Ooze is 1 hour, about 1 hour 5. And 6 Feet Beneath the Moon, although it's 52 minutes, I feel like it is a bit too mundane for my liking. With King Cruel, like at 40 minutes, I still feel like it's a bit too much. I would like to see him do the 7-song, 27-minute, but it's a bit of wishful thinking. But what he does in this,
do the Kanye West.
Yeah, do the Kanye,
Yeah.
do the Kanye. But these 14 songs over 41 minutes are like the best he's done so far, in my opinion at least, where you hit on like, he's not even talking about anything specific, he's talking about just like emotions as he's going through them. And it's like Stoned Again, where she just sat in this booth, like, I'm stoned again.
Very much.
And that's a ram.
You literally just sat there. I was like, yeah, I can relate to that.
What a shit. I'm right back here again. Oh, God.
Yeah.
Sorry, man.
Like, and then like, don't let the dragon drag on. It's like, he's just talking about how things that he doesn't enjoy doing just take so fucking long. And you just sat there listening to this. It's like, this is miserable. And I understand exactly why he's miserable.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is, yeah. I mean, that's the thing, though, isn't it? With like depressed music, is that it's so relatable. Everyone's depressed nowadays because life is so shit.
Especially now, like Stoned Again has been something I've listened to so much, especially since lockdown. Because what am I doing? I'm getting paid to sit on my ass. I'm getting like
You have to cut this stuff out, man.
Well, if what everyone doesn't know is the Movember Fund is actually all going to
Furlough, innit?
I've got a career, bro. I've got LinkedIn, man.
Hey, bro, I've got like 2 people on my LinkedIn. One's my brother, and I don't post on it. I don't have it. I got an email the other day. It's like,
No,
do you want
but-
to connect to these people? No.
I don't do drugs though. So what you saying? What you saying?
It's honest. Yeah, it's honesty.
Yeah.
Let's move.
When we're talking about stoned again, I'm thinking about like just lockdown life. I'm being sat
Yeah.
watching TV
Okay,
all day.
Yeah, same there.
I'm doing nothing productive because what is there to do that's productive? I can't go to work. All my university's online. All I do is I sit and I play video games and I watch some TV. Maybe go outside for a walk, but that's not productive. Then that's just like self-care. So the way he like draws out, it's bad to say, but the way he draws out the worst in people is just so incredible.
Yeah, I get you, mate. Yeah, it's dark stuff, but I'd say the Ooze is just as dark.
Yeah.
I think that I've written a little question: is it the best King Cruel album? I think you've agreed it because I think you've confirmed that.
Yeah. So in my opinion, again, I don't like saying best album. I like saying favorite album.
Okay.
My favorite album is Man Alive because, in my opinion, the Ooze especially just drags on for way too long, and like 6 Feet Beneath the Moon is maybe like 10 minutes longer than Man Alive, but it has filler tracks, and those filler when an album's already so monotone and mundane, and you're looking towards the orchestral like instrumentals and the crescendos, you can't really have a filler track. You can't afford a filler track with his style of music.
Yeah,
Because
I'd agree.
it's really hard to differentiate from the filler track to the actual substance matter on the album because everything's so abstract. All the sounds are so abstract, and his voice is so distorted in it as well. Because like he doesn't have a good singing voice. He distorts his voice to make it another instrument like a synth or a bass, and just add to the music at that point.
I was going to say because his voice does sound really suppressed in it.
Yeah,
it's like it's been compressed beyond measure. Like I was going to say that's exactly how I expect. It's a traditional alternative sound, and that's how I expect. If I listen to it, I think, oh, yeah, that's alternative music.
But my criticism of that is how distorted is too distorted. At what point do you start taking away from the personalization of the voice as an instrument? Because instruments are instruments. You can't really personalize an instrument. But when you have someone singing or someone rapping over a beat.
But do you like the music?
I do. But I feel like I would like it more if it was less distorted.
But if he's a shit singer,
he's not though. He's not.
But also he's King Cruel because he does that.
Yeah, that's fair. And again,
that's his sound.
When we're talking about music, no one's in any position to tell anyone that they're right or wrong.
Yeah,
because it's all opinion based.
Yeah, I get it. It's just how he uses his voice.
Yeah.
His voice isn't supposed to be in the foreground of any of the songs. I feel like it's supposed to be the dread. He's going to fade into the background, but the most prominent thing is that everything is bad. Dread.
Yeah, he's just going to let emotion. That's the thing is, again, when we're talking about that, is he's not in the foreground. And he's letting the emotional, like, instrumentals overwhelm him. And then when you listen to that and you're in a bit of an emotional state, you let those emotions carried by the music overwhelm you, which is something that he does really well, which is why it's not something I listen to every day. I maybe listen to this album like once a month if I'm in like a real bad way. But like when I do, it does everything it needs to.
Okay. Yeah.
It just purges all the bad vibes out of
it. All right. So.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, when I didn't really listen to it because I didn't really have time, but like I said, when I heard it and what I heard of it, I thought this is a very traditional sounding old sound. I thought some of your other albums could fit into other genres, whereas this one couldn't.
Yeah,
I thought like, this isn't any other genre. Honestly, this is not a genre. And yeah, by the way, King Cruel checked up on him. He didn't work with Kendrick. I was talking shit.
Oh, Pete. I think he could come into my post-punk. Some of the bass lines he uses
Yeah.
are straight out post-punk stuff. But yeah, fair. Alternative is his space.
Yep, it is, and I feel like he's one of the ones that you can tell that this is, again, a sound that he's been wanting to achieve since 6 Feet Beneath the Moon. Whereas, and I feel like he's still not mastered it. This is the best he's done so far, but there's many, many better albums to come.
Right. He's still young, isn't he?
I think he's 26, 27.
I think he's
That's
a little
young.
bit. He's like, he's late 20s. It's like I was surprised he had a kid because he looks so young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why he's so depressed.
Yeah, he's 26.
Because he's still getting ID for scratch cards.
Fuck. Okay.
But yeah, so that's Man Alive by King Cruel. Again, an album I would definitely listen to. And now we move on to the latest of the albums, which is Sawayama by Rina Sawayama. And for those of you that don't know, it recently had a bit of a drama surrounding it because of, I can't remember which awards it was. I think it was the BET Awards, the Brits, yeah, where she is dual nationality. She is Japanese British, and the Brits do not allow people that are not British passport holders to be eligible to win their awards. But because Japan doesn't allow a dual nationality, she wasn't eligible to enter these awards, even though she's been living in London since she was like 3 years old.
Right.
So
2 seconds.
So that's the Brits just being shit, in my opinion. That's just me.
It's done.
But an unbelievable album, back to front. You know, when I say that there are albums that maybe go on for too long, they lose my retention, they lose my focus a bit. This one does not. Every single song is as entertaining, if not more than the last. Like, you start off with Dynasty, which is just, it's so royal. It's like you have layers and layers and layers of her voice. I think like 6 or 7 times over, it's just her voice singing the same chorus over. And it's like, I'm a dynasty. I can't sing, but I can sing. But point is, like, again, it's emotional, and she talks about how throughout the album, these themes are like sort of covered. They're in tongues. Like, if you listen to Comme des Garçons, Like the Boys, banger, absolute banger. You would not think for 1 second, when you listen to it, that it's about toxic masculinity.
I mean, my favourite song on that whole thing was STFU, if I'm being honest.
STFU is a great song as well.
It's just so heavy. Yeah.
But then when you listen to Comme des Garçons, you're just like, oh, it's a bop. Like the boys, like the boys, like the boys.
The
but then when you
the beat is
it slaps. It's super sticky bass line. Like, the stickiest bass line of 2020.
Possibly.
But then when you listen to it,
you've not heard that Skepsis, mate. You know, I don't know Skepsis. That's the dirtiest bass line of 2020.
Thank you, Mike, for saying that. Yeah,
no worries.
And that, like, this is one song I've like actually looked into a lot, because when I found out it was about toxic masculinity, it just sent me down this little rabbit hole. And you think about it, and it's just like she talks about Comme des Garçons because she lives in London, and it's a London boy thing. All the boys are wearing the Comme des Garçons. They're out for the night. It's just like the boys, like the boys.
Shout out Shiv Jala.
But again, is when we're with the boys, we may be able to portray toxic masculinity, and as men, we don't really realize it because of the environment that we're in when we're with our boys. We're just having such a good time, and even though we don't mean to portray that toxic masculinity, sometimes we end up doing it anyways, and that's what she's talking about.
Yeah,
and like the way she's hit that so on the nose is like, there are people.
It's very true.
But like, sometimes they show it just because they're having fun with the boys and they don't really realize it, but that's how it is. And then she also has stuff like Paradise in, where I've not driven to this song yet, but if I could drive to the song, I would drive to it forever. Like, it's just one of those songs.
Just fill up your tank and go.
Oh yeah, fill up my tank and go.
Lovely pop song. Such a lovely.
Yeah.
Mm.
But then you have like super emotional songs like Bad Friend, where she talks about all the shit stuff she's done to her friends or like to romantic interests in her school years, which everyone's done. I thought I was quite a nice kid in school, but then I looked back on it and I was like, nah, did some pretty toxic shit, didn't I? And I feel like
I was so sound in school. Anyone would justify that. Honestly, I was the nicest guy.
But like,
What's what is I compared to my friends? I was a nice guy.
but the point is, like,
they'll know who I'm talking about.
When you look back on like your school life and you thought you were like a nice guy, you do realize that you might have done some shit stuff, and that's like what this makes you look back on. And
We know
it's
the
just
deep
mad.
cuts, bro.
And the deep cuts, and if we're talking about deep cuts, Chosen Family. The amount of times tears have come out to this song.
By the way, in case anyone's wondering, the listeners, the reason why these two are reacting like that and I'm not is because I genuinely I don't listen to I don't listen to this kind of music all the time. So that's why these two, they have a more personal bond to this.
Bro. When she says, you ain't got to be related to relate.
Yeah.
You ain't got to look the same.
But we be going through the same things.
Stop that!
It's not fair! It's not fair, Rena! Deep down in my heart, I still love you.
Oh, good times.
But yeah, and then she talks about in the closing song of the album, Snakeskin as well. She talks about, I'm shedding my snakeskin. Just, she's showing her true self now. She doesn't want to be two-faced. She doesn't want to show one person as one side of her and a different person different side. She wants to show everyone she meets the actual genuine side of her, and that's like the way she portrays that as well, with such like dramatic orchestral crescendos, and it's like, you're going to talk about this soon with Idols, and Shane was like organized chaos.
Yeah, pretty much.
Organized chaos.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, but organized chaos is a big theme on this album, and the way she manages to maintain for 45 minutes, she manages to maintain and make sure every single note, instruments and vocals, is not wasted at all. It's just incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's my album of the year for 2020. I would definitely recommend everyone listen to this and just have a nice time with it.
Fair play. I'd agree. Well, it's not my album of the year, but it's
nowhere near mine.
It's pretty goddamn good.
It's a good album. It's a good album.
What I've written down, Rena makes me feel like an X Factor judge. You know when they smash a performance in X Factor? I just want to be like, yes,
boom,
you.
I didn't like it. Boo! I loved it.
Yeah, that's it. That's that.
Yeah.
I think
I don't know why.
With your albums, though, the only one I wanted to touch on is the Negro Swan album. And the reason why is because it's so good. I don't understand why it isn't bigger. I don't get it. It's such. Like I said to you, I originally said B-Tech Frank, but it's not B-Tech Frank. That's unfair because he's that good. But it's Frank-esque, and it's that level of good that he should be that big. And it's I don't understand why it's not bigger. I can't. Is it like what? Why is it?
I feel like he's, because of who he is, and he's sort of the age now where he's not really going to get big.
Yeah.
He's sort of one of the ones where it's like, if you know, you know.
Right.
Okay.
Because
I don't know though. I don't know, because it is that good that I feel like with the right promotion, it could be massive.
But then
I feel like it's not that popular a sound.
Yeah.
He is really alternative pop, and I'm not sure that niche is big enough. I think the people that know about him love it, but apart from that,
anyone who listens to it will love it. I think that's the but because, like you said, the genre is quite niche, you might not be able to find it. But so I'm saying, I think if someone was to play it, like if like has Fantano done a album review on it? Anthony
Sure,
Fantano.
he does. Yeah, he has. Yeah,
Oh,
give
yeah.
it an 8, I think. Mate.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I don't understand like that with things like that. Why it isn't bigger? Because I think Charcoal Baby is quite big, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that's if it's not, because he is 34 going on 35 now, so I feel like with the modern era he may slowly fade away, or he may maintain the level of fame he's at right now.
we say that.
But
I don't think
then-
age can into it.
Yeah,
but
look
then
at
even if-
Peggy,
even if
JPEG
it-
Massio.
yeah,
Peggy's
but like
massive.
even if age doesn't come into it, some people just don't blow up the way they should,
Yeah, it's very true.
and that's just music.
Mm.
And I've got a little note written down here that I forgot to touch on, and it's like most applicable to the Man Alive album by King Cruel, but it sort of fits UK alt music and like UK music as a whole. There's a really interesting interview between Slow Tie and this tattoo artist, Struthless, on YouTube, and he Struthless asks him why all music from the UK sounds sort of like, well, all of Slow Tie's music sort of sounds like very dystopian. And if you look at it, even Assume Form, while it's still like quite ethereal and like processed by Sampha, where they're like all quite uplifting, it does feel a bit dystopian, the themes that they're portraying. And Slow Tie says it's to do with the energy and the visual surroundings of the UK as a whole. Because when we wake up right now, like we wake up at get out of bed at 9 o'clock. It's like grey at 9 o'clock. You get like 2 hours of sunshine, and then by like 1 o'clock it's grey again. So that already sets the tone of like a dystopia.
Yeah.
There's big buildings everywhere, dystopia, and it's like big grey buildings, big red buildings. I'm talking to you here from a big red building in the middle of Edinburgh.
Yeah.
So like that theme of just like clouds everywhere, grungy, like grey and red, like cityscapes, Slow Tie says is the reason why UK art as a whole just has a dystopian feel to it. And I feel like that's something that's like worth
UK
considering.
I think not even that, just UK culture, the way we are brought up is very, even down to our humour and everything like that.
Yeah.
It's very dystopian. But I just wanted to send a quick message to Slow Tie. If you're somehow watching this, and I'm going to say this very clearly and slowly, stop fucking up your life. Stop it.
We're
love
trying
you.
to love you, boss.
Please,
We love,
please,
we
please.
love your
you.
music. Stop fucking up your life. Stop it. Dickhead.
There we go. But yeah, that's all I've got to say about UK alt. If anyone's got any more questions, if not, then Luke, if you want to take the floor.
I mean, let's pick out another few artists. I think I would like to talk about in the scene,
Okay.
like Young Fathers,
Young Fathers,
particularly because I like that band so much, mate.
That's fair.
They're sick.
I like you touched on that, because I was completely going to skip over the fact that two people just missed out on my list were Rex Orange County and FKA Twigs. I feel like they've got another, both of them respectively have like another album or two in them before they reach their best work, in my opinion.
Okay.
The one thing I want to ask about alternative music is because it's like its own it's like, I don't know how to explain this, but it's like the ghost of the music world. Like it's like so out there, and it's like doesn't really fit in with anything, and it's just like it's just there. It's like I can't really explain it. It's like it's not. Do you ever see alternative music becoming prominent, like really, really prominent to the point where like we wouldn't have said this about hip hop 20 years ago? Do you ever see alternative music and people like James Blake and whoever becoming like the biggest artists in the world? Do you ever see that?
It's like that's an interesting way of looking at it, because I don't see them becoming like Justin Bieber's and like Miley Cyrus and like Taylor Swift and stuff like that. Like I don't even see like a Drake, whereas like sort of like culture vulture coming in from the alternative scene. Like the closest thing we have to that is James Blake, who's featured on like J-Rock albums and like Kendrick albums. But I feel like with alternative music, because like Luke said, it's so vast that there's never going to be an album that appeals to like one person the entire way through, or even if it does, it's sort of like an outlier. I feel like the scope for alternative music is, since it doesn't fit a genre, since there's nothing to satisfy someone the whole way through, there will at least be, in each album there'll be a bit for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, I hear that. Like, I mean, for me, again, I find that even with hip hop, and I've noticed this when I'm trying to make a project, self blog. It's very hard to make something for everyone, even in your own genre.
Yeah, but that's the thing, is like with alternative music, you don't have to think about fitting into. You can't be like, oh, I want to make a hip hop project and then not care about where you pick your sounds from. With alternative, you can just be like, oh, okay, I just want to make a music project. I'll pick sounds from here, sounds from there, and that's what Rena did on her album. You got some heavy metal, you got some pop, you got some R&B, you got some funk, and then like with stuff like Man Alive, where it's all clearly one specific sound, you can't really label that sound, which is why it comes under alternative. So the fact that you can have two such different sounds that you wouldn't consider the same genre under the branch of like alternative means that I feel like we're not going to get like just one person like a Drake, who's just like there'll be no face of alternative music. There's just going to be a bunch of people making music that they like, and people that like the music listen to their music.
I hear that.
And ideally, I'd like it to stay that way, but obviously, I can't see the future. If it changes, it changes for the better. If it changes for the worse, it changes for the worse.
Yeah, I think.
Well, for me, I think you're going to see lots of people, like it will spread into a lot of different genres. It will continue to spread into a lot of different genres, but you're not going to see like massive artists, massive sales, because of the variety of the music you're going to get.
I think. Go ahead. Yeah, I think that kind of goes to all three of our. Maybe not so much grime now, because it's integrated hip hop a bit more. All three of our genres are kind of like, they're so niche and specialist that you won't see a worldwide phenomenon from it. And I think that's the beauty of it, though. Like alternative. If you try and go pop on alternative, and it's not like, you know, like pop soul or whatever, it's just a pure like Calvin Harris tune. It's not alternative anymore. Do you know what I mean?
And the thing I was going to say with like alternative is like, it's really hard to be like, oh, what's your favorite genre? Alternative. Like it feels like what do you mean?
Ambient noise, bro.
Yeah, like
I like the white noise mixtape.
do you like King Cruel? Do you like Rena? Do you like James Blake? Do you like Rick's Orange County? All of them have like very different sounds. You can't just like say alternative. Whereas like if you say, oh, my favorite genre is like grime or like post-punk, you sort of have an idea of like the sound that they like, the sound that they enjoy.
I mean, alternative is just an umbrella term, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not its own genre. It's literally the other category when you're filling out forms.
yeah. That's what I was trying to say when I say it's like the ghost. It's like
What music do you make? Grime, R&B, punk, post-punk, other. Aha.
Okay, I've got it. Yeah. I heard that. Yeah. No, I was just wondering, because obviously, like I said, James Blake's massive, and I could just see. I don't know. I think even though it does feature like a bit of everything for everyone, Jesus Christ, we are going.
Oh yeah, we've
got 2 hours. I mean, even got to Luke. I just wondered like whether you reckon they could actually blow up, because like I said, that even if it's not albums, it could just be singles. Because like I said, even from my own, I'm doing 10 tracks, and I find that I've had to switch it because I want to try and do what I want to do, but then I don't think any artist can truly make an album which everyone loves, apart from 50 Cent. We love you, 50. but you know,
what James Blake could. James Blake could.
Yeah,
he has got the kind of.
I was looking at James Blake right now, and you look at his Spotify. Obviously, his feature on King's Dead was maybe like only like 10-20 seconds, and he did produce it. But that's a song with 400 million streams on Spotify.
He produced it.
Yeah.
That's a fucking
miss me with that BS, man.
And then the Travis Scott song on his album, 80 million streams.
No doubt that they are massive people. Like, they are.
He has the ability to make absolute bangers, but the issue is because the rest of his solo stuff is just so like slow and like emotional. He needs. Because of his sound, he fits in best with like R&B rappers and just like stuff like that. So you need someone like Travis Scott. You need someone like Kendrick and J Rock and Future to like
Chance the Rapper.
make the song more poppy, make the song more upbeat, make the song more accessible to a wider audience.
Yeah, like I said, the first time I heard of him was the Life Round Here tune with Chance the Rapper.
Yeah,
bro, that song's so dope.
Oh, mate. Unbelievable.
So dope. And by the way, James Blake, if you're somehow listening to this as well as Slow Tie, you're all listening, drop the instrumental for that. I've been looking for that for about 3 years now. Just drop it. I've been looking for it for so long.
It's not an album, but James Blake put out a 4-song dance EP, sort of like minimal techno, earlier, like I think about a month ago. If you've not listened to that, listen to that as well.
Oh, yeah, let's do it. Luke, you got anything to add before we move on to yours?
I was trying to think of what's the Life Round Here. How does it go? Do a little. That's not helpful. He's got other good songs.
Every time.
Okay, there you go. It's my go.
Let's go.
Do you want to start a new meeting, or are you going to start the meeting and then
we'll start a new one? I think it's
probably
better.
A new one.
All right.
Right. So when we come back from it, we are on to our
3 or 4.
This is our third break. For what took so long.
I'm not going to take as long.
Right, so yeah, when we come back, we'll discuss Luke's and also just general conversation, anything that we do, any segues that I randomly put us down. Right, we'll be back in a second. And we're back. We're back off our break, which for us was 2 minutes, and for you was 10 seconds. We're now going to feed on to Luke when he's talking about post-punk, punk, and his albums. Obviously, the history is a bit hit and miss for this one because it's been around for so long that, it's a bit different to Grime and such. So, Luke, do you want to take it away?
Okay. Hello.
Welcome
to my monologue.
We'll try and help you out here.
So, punk. Yeah, you got punk, then you got post-punk. After punk. Punk was around.
Can you break that down, the difference between post and normal punk?
I think I can, but it is really difficult because it's going to be super vague. Get ready for it. All right. So punk, I think it only had a little lifespan of about 6 years from the end of the 70s to the start of the 80s. And then I don't know what happened after that, but during the early 80s, you get offshoots of punk kind of doing interesting little bits here and there. And then punk kind of, in the UK, I don't think it was ever super like widespread or anything, but in America, you got punks everywhere, basically. Punks that have carried on since.
I think punks in the UK were basically like a cult. It was basically like a cult following. If you're a punk,
it's good. I think that's a good way of describing it, because it was a bit like Grime of its day, where you've got a working class
demonized.
You've got working class people, that are demonized, using their voices to kind of combat the establishment. That's why you got people like the Sex Pistols saying Anarchy in the UK and stuff like that. And that follows into my first album, Combat Rock by The Clash. So you got, we were just talking about the samples. It's iconic. They are an iconic band. Yeah. I think that the samples they've created from, I don't know whether the kind of techniques they were using to make the sounds were that innovative at the time, but how they linked it up with the lyricism, how the vocalists kind of, I don't know how to describe that vocals. Mate, how would you guys say his voice is? It's kind of it's very London.
It's almost like he's speaking to you he's like a punk Mike Skinner. Like,
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
okay, I get
yeah,
that.
like, and
yeah.
like you especially get it on the first track on the album, Know Your Rights.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
The way
definitely.
he opens it is like, "This is a public service announcement
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
with
like,
guitars."
yeah, and it's like these are your rights, and it's not like when we're talking about James Blake, where it's like an actual singing. It's very, they keep their accent. It's a bit like
Yeah.
Madness in a sense, in that they can keep their London accent and make it like quintessentially British.
I think that is a lot, like throughout punk, that
Yeah.
kind of singing is very very popular.
Yeah. Can I just interject on that one?
Basically,
I just want to say the reason why as well is because you don't actually have to sing. Because like, again, self plug.
yes, everybody
My
can do
punk tune, I can't sing to save my life, but I can make a punk tune. Do you know what I mean? So it's just a sound. It's making a sound. Is what it is.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But it's very protest heavy. It's kind of looking at a load of different issues. Kind of London changing at that time. We've got in the first song like that we mentioned earlier, we've got the complete same kind of topics that are being covered today, where we've got police killings, we've got like people fighting for food money and getting embarrassed because they're on benefits and stuff like that. That's kind of still prominent here.
I'm just gonna say is like, I don't listen to a lot of punk and post punk, and I was like, but Know Your Rights is probably the most like on the nose political statement song, where they don't cover it up with like any wordplay or nothing.
No.
They're just like, and I quote, "Murder is a crime unless it is committed by a policeman or aristocrat." Like, that's an actual lyric. Like, they don't cover it up with any wordplay. They're right on the nose with what they're saying.
I hate to interrupt Luke's monologue and not let him speak so much.
Oh, please do.
What I wanted to say is, no, with this album, when you listen to it, we spoke about London Schooling, and in a little break, and I said, I'm surprised you didn't choose it. And I think Know Your Rights there, it's like a homage to London Schooling and the more fuck the government stance they had, to the point where I think this album's a little less, it's a little more toned down, a little bit more, but I think that first song on there is like, yeah, we still got these beliefs and all this kind of stuff, and like a homage to what they once did.
Yeah, this is why this album is coming to the post-punk section of the show, mate. Yeah. This is why, because Rock the Casper, mate, it's nearly a disco song.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
They're doing so much different stuff that
should I stay or should I go?
Classically, yeah exactly.
Car jamming.
They're nearly disco songs. This is where post-punk kind of emerges from, in that kind of time period. I'm trying to think. I've got any more notes here. Yeah. Oh yeah, Overpowered by Funk. No, that's not a punk song. That's post-punk.
Yeah.
It's coming from heavy stuff to using different forms of music, different influences from, I think, like dubbing, where you'd get just dub poetry and stuff like that. People shouting at a crowd, doing poetry before the main song would come. Using beats from like Benjamin Zephaniah kind of stuff.
What a man he is, by the way.
Yeah, shout out. Yeah, so that's going to be that album, I think. That I don't know whether that was any good. Any other comments to make?
I'm just going to say I love this album so much.
Yeah, it's sick. It's sick.
It's such a good album, and like, if you want, like, you talk to more about the messages. Like, when I'm talking about the music, which is like, I don't. My main reason for listening to music is for the music. If it has political stances that I agree with, that's just an added bonus.
Okay.
But for me, I think it's the song Atom Tan, where it's like, cyanide, suicide, yeah. Unbelievable song.
Hooks everywhere. The hooks on this album is so catchy.
Yeah. So sticky, so catchy, and it's like the fact that it might be just our friend group, but the fact that this album came out in 1982 and songs from this album have been playing at every single house party I've gone to.
Yeah, this says it all. It's
Yeah,
because those sounds are kind of they're just translated so well into what we listen to now, and it's kind of allowed us to go back and listen to it.
And I think the only time this album will age is when, well, the Clash in particular, not necessarily this album, because like you said, this album isn't as punk, but the Clash in particular is when the UK finally progresses, and this is 30 years later, and it's still in the same old spot, doing the same old shit.
Pretty much.
And but that's why you got to big up the Clash, because before, like, they were the ones to say, you know, fuck censorship and whatever. We're gonna talk about what's right and what's, you know, and that's like, that was a big step at that point, and that, like you said, it was demonized, like, and
Definitely.
you know, people like Sid Vicious and God, you know, they were literally demonized by the media because they were talking about these things, but it's so important that they did, because it allowed more people to do it, and it inspired more people to do it, to the point where me, a person who's never made punk in my life, never listened to it, I wouldn't have made a fucking tune about it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like, what do? Oh, you hear that sound, and it's like, well, you're going to talk about all these fucking problems that are going on in the world, because fuck it, because we can, and it's important to do so. And this is why I have a strong hatred toward people who just are like choir boys. I hate people like choir boys. Like, I hate to bring up, like,
what do choir boys do, bro?
Yeah, but you know what I mean. Like,
I wasn't a choir.
You know what I mean? That they're good boys, and they don't talk out about it, and they're not afraid to stick their neck out for things that are right. And I understand you've got a brand and you've got money or whatever, but at the end of the day, when things are wrong in the world, and regardless of political belief, like when there's things like racism going on, racial targeting and stuff like that, and you don't speak out about it, you're a bellend. Like, if you've got a position of power, and I hate to bring them up, people like the Kardashians, like Kylie Jenner and such. Kylie Jenner, who's, you know, got a mixed race daughter, and she won't speak out about it. And it's like, well, I understand you've got a brand, but you got, like, well, you know, where's using your platform for the greater good? And I understand people might not be comfortable or whatever, but some people are fine talking about some things, but when it comes to actual real injustices, they won't talk out about it.
I feel like it, especially with something when you're talking about stuff that punk music and post-punk music stands for, which is just equality and basic rights for all. If someone's feeling uncomfortable talking about this situation, it either means that they're like in support of the fact that people are unequal, or they are living in willing ignorance of the fact that people are in the situation.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't us saying that, like, if you don't go to protests or whatever. This is just saying, if you don't speak out against, like, speaking out against it in some sense, having a conversation with someone
in the way you feel most comfortable.
Yeah, we're not saying you have to go out and protest or make songs and riot and whatever. But if you just stay completely silent about it, then you're just as bad as the people that enforce
Definitely.
it.
Yeah. Thank you for articulating these things.
Yeah, we don't want, you know, you don't want to say, like, oh, yeah, if you're completely silent, you're a cunt. Like, you have to actually articulate on the fact. We're not trying to say, you know, you have to go protest.
If you are in if you are in a position where you are privileged enough to be able to speak out and you choose to remain silent, you are doing everyone that has made an effort to strive towards equality a disservice, pretty much.
It's a very tough thing to say, because there are a lot of, they'll hate to say it, cis white people, you know, that they'll be offended by this. Well, I'm not racist, but I just don't want to talk
about
me. you know, bro, like fuck's sake, man. Like, you know, you might lose a few friends on Facebook because you speak out against racism. So what? They're racists. Fuck them off. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I mean,
I get it, man. I feel like we're with first episode and we're virtue signaling, and I fucking love it.
Marcus Rashford.
Let's get it.
I mean, but that's the thing, though. Like, this is exactly our point. If you have an opportunity to interject and bring something up about it while you can, and you're comfortable to do it, do it. I understand if someone's completely uncomfortable to do it because they feel like, oh, like, you know, whatever. Like, if you're completely uncomfortable, don't do it. But, like, if you're in a comfortable situation to do it, just do it. If you've got a partner, anyone, a child, if you're old enough, a child who is showing, like, signs of ignorance and stuff like that, just say, look, what are you doing?
big up the Clash for
Yeah.
speaking their voice, making their voice heard at a time where it was difficult to, and using interesting musical techniques that allowed post-punk to
that was a massive segue.
emerge.
But this was always going to happen when we spoke about punk. This was always going to happen because it's a big segue, but it was always going to happen, and it was especially in a time when was the Tottenham riots? Not the 2011 ones, the Brawl War Farm riots.
84, I want to say.
Yeah, around there. So it was around those times. Really. Yeah, the punk era.
Somebody can yeah. So basically, they've used their platform as a punk platform, but they're doing interesting stuff, which is allowing post-punk to emerge. And we're going to cover a little bit more in that in the next album, Delta 5's Singles and Sessions Plus. It is a compilation album. Michael hates it.
I hate this album so much.
I don't know why, but basically Delta 5, kind of not as well known as the Clash, obviously, but their leads 5-piece, and kind of I'd say they're quite feminist punk. They're just using the same. It's not as outright as the Clash were, but they're speaking their truths in music. That it's this kind of same style with like the drum beats, but they're putting their own spin on the punk sound, which is like the common theme of post-punk, really. So they're using two bass players, for example, to create this double bass funk kind of thing. And some of the bass lines they've got on here, particularly on, I think it's Try and Anticipation. I can't remember, is that right? Or yeah.
Oh,
banging, mate, banging.
Try is an unbelievable.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would have heard it.
You don't see what I see.
People. This is going to sound bad because obviously they are speaking out their truths, and that's what I'm for. Like, big up yourselves, but I just didn't like the way they did it. I just found the vocals annoying, personally.
Fair. I mean, that's all right. I think that vocal style is synonymous with well, it may be more US sounded punk, but because you got like the slits and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I really like that sound. It really appeals to me. I don't know why.
Yeah, I'm
like just shouty.
When you talk about like her sound as well, like her voice, it is really shrill, but I feel like she uses it so well in, is it You, where she's talking about finding out that like her partner is just like cheated on her, or like she basically in a shit relationship, and she has this really shrill voice where she's talking over these instrumentals, and it's weird, but it's so good.
Yeah, it's cool, man. Mind Your Own Business, the title track. Yeah. Well, the title track, but
can I interfere with your crisis? No, mind your own business. Yeah.
It's just it's a great hook, very catchy song. It was in Sex Education, actually.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, there you go. Mike's just hating this conversation. Mike's just hating this conversation. I love that album.
I won't be involved in this one for people listening because I heard a tune about makeup, and it was something like, oh, it feels so good on my face, and I was just like, you know what?
You didn't listen deep enough, bro.
I heard
covering up, makeup making everyone look the same.
See, this is the thing.
It's negative.
I heard it for about 20 seconds, and I was in my car, and I went, next album.
He's saying toxic masculinity right now.
I hold my hands up.
Mate, it's the makeup putting the face on. You need to shed the snake skin.
Yes. Yes. There you go. But again, a good example of variety in punk music, which is going to well, actually at the time it wasn't that popular, and that's why Delta 5 disbanded after 2 years.
I can see why it wasn't popular. If I'm being honest, I can see why they disbanded.
But
anyway, anyone listening, you do have to go listen to this album, because for the first 16 years of my life, I only listened to hip hop. So I am not as great when it comes to listening to really offshoots like of music. So please go listen to it. Don't take my word as gospel.
Yeah, both are good. Both the ones I mentioned are good, but they've sowed the seeds, for stuff to come out as we've kind of grown up in the noughties and then the tens properly, and now to where we are now. They've set the scene to where you don't actually have to sing. You can just use a kind of simple drum beat. You can you don't have to sing super well, but as long as you've got a memorable voice, and you can hold a song, you can do whatever else the fuck you want, really, to make up around it. And that's where we're going to get to with Dry by PJ Harvey.
No, but we're going to say that like you haven't got an incredible voice. Like this woman hasn't got an incredible voice.
Yeah. No, this is a bad example. Bad example, but
yeah,
she's got a crazy voice. The way she holds songs, it's just mad. And the momentum that she controls through every song, just makes them super listenable. For some reason, this is a debut album. It might be post-punk Splamatic.
What year was this?
92.
92. So, I think it's nearly alternative. I think it's going to influence a lot of maybe the King Cruel album.
Yeah,
I think it's going to come into that. But let's go for it. You kind of see that she sets the scene with this album, and then this allows her to go on to do more like wild stuff, more alternative stuff with people like Nick Cave and Tom York. Pitchfork quote them. They described it as that Dry is a volcano and the scorched earth surrounding it, with landsliding guitars, cowpunk mania, twisted blues, profound extremes, and power chords that hit like boulders dropped from on high. Sums it up pretty much. I don't know what cowpunk mania is, but
but how often do Pitchfork actually speak like normal?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
But
and it's like, what was it? When you look at like the instrumentals on this album, and you see how like bands now have, each band has its own specific like guitar sound. I feel like with modern post-punk, it's like if I hear a certain guitar chord, I'll be like, oh, that's Idols, or that's Fontaines. It's just, you can tell with certain chords, and you can tell that well, I've got it written here, like on Dress, that the influence that they've put on songs like Idols and Fontaines here is clear, because the way they've distorted their guitars is like so similar to what we hear in modern punk right now. And that this came out 20 years ago.
Yeah.
30 years ago? 30 years ago.
92, 30, yeah.
Yeah, nearly 30 years. I mean, the one thing I love about this as well is that we all listen to it, and we all have different favourite tracks on there as well. It's not like there's one track which really, like, they're all just really good. Like, there's not one standout one. It's just it's just a dope album by a dope singer.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
If you wanna give your favourite songs on the album,
mine's the opening one. I'll tell you as to why. Obviously, I've only listened to it once, so this is subject to change. But the reason why I love this one so much is because I was sat here playing Sleeping Dogs or some game like that. I was sat there and I was like, oh, you know what? I'll chuck this on. I'll start listening to it. And I pressed play on it, and I sat there and I went, whoa. I paused the game and started listening to it properly, and I was like, right, okay, now this is dope. And I messaged you two, and I was like, this woman can sing. Like, this is really dope music. But yeah, like the whole thing was just, it is incredible. But like I said, I've only listened to it once, so it's subject to change. But that one was my favorite, obviously, because it stood out to me right away. But yeah,
it's a good choice. I think Dress for me. I think the messaging that she has is sick. It's kind of, I don't need to put this dress on kind of thing. The vocal performance is crazy. I'm trying to think what stands. I'm going to play it in my headphones and then I'll be able to talk because I've completely gone blank.
Right, Fo, you cut in quick.
So what I've done here is I'm not going to be a lot of help. So I've written like for each song I've written like a little note of like what it entails. And for my favorite song, which is like Sheila in a Gig, I've just written vibes.
Yeah.
Like that's all you need to know. That's my favorite song on the album.
Fair
Vibes.
play.
Yeah,
I just had a little bit of vibes and dress in the headphones there, and you can kind of hear in the background they're scraping a violin on just at the start of the song. They're just going, and it suits this album so well because all the sounds are so weird. They're kind of weird country folk kind of thing coming in, and it's usually just one drum beat just going, setting the tempo, and then she's just going, controlling the pace from there, and the riffs that they're using just tie up with her voice so beautifully, and it's a sick album. And there's a few nice like mellow vibes, which I think also influences a lot of post-punk stuff from that, because every kind of post-punk band right now, you've got your big hitters, and then you've got 2-3 songs where it's like, oh, I'm a bit in my feelings. This is going to be a bit introspective. I'm going to talk about something else. I'm going to use this platform to talk about I've had a shit day or something like that, or my mental health or something. Probably should have worded it better, but yeah. Yeah, that's dry. So was my explanation of that album. But here we go again. We're going to skip about 20. What? We're going to skip 26 years or something to. We'll do Dust on Trial first. It's absolutely chaotic. Fo, you didn't like this one. Mike, you quite liked it, but
the Idols album.
No, Dust on Trial by Shame.
Oh no, I did like this album. Yeah, I thought they were very similar though. The Idols and the Shame album, they were somewhat similar.
I kind of get it, yeah.
Because it's that sound. But yeah, I listened to it and I thought this was dope. Wasn't quite the Idols album for me, but it was dope.
That was my complaint with the album. Whereas like the Songs of Praise by Shame, it feels like a watered down version of Joy as an Act of Resistance for me.
I hear you, but I think that
you're wrong.
His vocal, yeah, basically, you're chatting rubbish.
You're trying to think of a nice way to say that.
There's a lot of different people you could kind of say, a lot of different bands you could. It's kind of the easy take, I think, to make on some of these albums coming out today. Because maybe not with Fontaine's, but trying to pick out another band that you could say, this is kind of a Joe Tabor impersonation.
There was one I listened to, but I'm going to save that for when we actually get onto Idols because it ties in quite well with that.
Okay. Basically, I'm going to sum up the Dust on Trial album. It is chaotic. It goes in 50 different directions, but what have I written? It's got a lot of grungy moments. Yeah, this is shit. I don't know whether this is shit or not.
What do you mean?
My description is shit.
I mean, it's wild, but it's not as wild as some albums are. Some albums are a lot wilder than that. But
I quite like the quirkiness of it. I think that's a real benefit.
Your problem with this is they're very hard to describe.
I'm trying.
They are hard to describe. That's the issue. Is that like it's a sound which is you kind of get. It's almost like the punk revival in Britain. It is that sound where we say it's post-punk, but technically I can see a punk revival come in with people like them, Idols, Slaves to an extent. And it is that very similar sound, heavy guitars and drums, A little bit shouty at times, which is great, especially when they can keep up an English accent and shout.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's dope albums. At least I
It's
hope.
hard.
I hope
I find this real hard. I don't know how you guys did it so easily, because these are albums I really, really enjoy. But condensing it down to, they kind of do this, they kind of do that. I'm struggling.
Yeah, I feel like the best way to describe like this Shame album and this Idol album would be like organized chaos and like elaborate build-ups.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
mad crescendos. It was
Mhm.
like, and the wave of the high, it's not just like that. You ride that high and like keep on like going on a steady upward path after that as well.
Yeah.
Because
And a lot of the time just going mad
when you reach
directions
the
as well.
climax, it's not. Dun.
Yeah.
I think it was on the last song of this album,
Well,
Angie, where I think it's 7 minutes long, isn't it?
Yeah. They kind of go
And
so weird directions, and then it's
for
pretty mellow.
that last minute and a half of the song could have not been there, but if it wasn't there, it would have lost so much substance.
Yeah.
Where it's literally just continuing the end of that crescendo. Where it's like dung, but it just makes it feel like that high you've reached lasts so much longer.
Yeah, I hear that. Rather than being a mountain, it's a mountain range.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. But a lot of it goes super hard, and that's the one takeaway I want people to take away.
I think especially with that album, if you want to, it's weird. If you want like something a bit heavier, but it's not too heavy, I think that's the kind of album you want to listen to.
Yeah.
It's quite hard to explain. It is heavier than the average album, but it's not as heavy as Idols.
It's not overwhelming.
Yeah.
It's heavy metal if you like lattes. If you wear cords, it's heavy metal for that.
Yeah, it's spot on.
I'm wrong. No.
You're not wrong. It's spot on. Yeah.
And now for heavy metal.
Heavy metal.
If you wear Vans. Joy of an Act of Resistance by Idols. I think just an absolute heavyweight of an album. This is probably the best one to talk about. It's absolutely stacked. I think it won some awards.
It did. Yeah.
The performance Joe Talbot has on it follows on from the previous album, Brutalism. Well. I think that Brutalism album was banging as well, but he kind of steps up and goes just shows all the skills in this album. It's super quotable. We'll go through the track listing. So it starts off with Colossus, which is just like an absolute creeper. It just goes.
I
don't know how long it goes on for, 2-3 minutes, but then the end. When we heard this live in Glasgow last year. What are you saying, mate?
It has a fake out at 4 minutes as well, where it stops out for about 30 seconds.
It. Yeah.
And then just comes back in with like heavy guitars and heavy drums.
I got to say though as well, when I heard this, bear in mind, you guys know the tune I made. People might know the tune I made. I was looking for a punk album that sounded like the tune I made.
Okay.
And like this is like an extreme version, and I was like, this is what I've been looking for someone to really say fuck it. And then I'd messaged you guys on this track, and it's literally my favorite lyric I've heard in so long. I'm like Stone Cold Steve Austin. I'm putting homophobes in coffins. Like that is amazing.
Yeah, it sets the tone for the album so well, because it's all so. The writing is so snappy and kind of satirical like that.
It's funny but dark at the same time.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And
then we go on to say what you want to say, Flo.
This song Colossus sets up the album so well, because I feel like with the album, each song has its own crescendo, but like each song builds up into the last one, into the last one, into the last one, and then when you reach the last song of the track, Rottweiler, it's just like this mad tidal wave of instrumentals that have been built up over like 40 minutes worth of tracks,
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen that sequencing, that like coherence in an album done that well before, potentially ever.
Ooh.
The other thing I want to add just quickly for that album, I want to see Slow Tie work with them if he hasn't already.
It's probably gonna happen, isn't it? Really?
It could
Oh,
happen
the
because
sound,
on
yeah.
the new album, what's the new album called?
Ultra Mono.
Ultra Mono. There's Kenny Beats production.
What?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's not as good. The album's not as good as this one.
No,
but,
the Kenny Beats songs are banging.
Kenny
though.
Beats is on it.
I was going to say, Kenny Beats does not fit that.
Oh, he does, mate.
Oh,
yeah,
he does.
The Denzel Curry stuff, the Rico Nasty stuff, definitely translates across to the style of.
I'd say Rico Nasty is like her own form of like hip hop meets post punk in the US.
I don't listen to Rico Nasty, so I can't comment.
Like the sounds she uses, she's like a cross between the two at least.
It's a bit slow tie. I think it's slow tie.
Slow tie is the closest thing you got to a hip hop / punk guy.
Yeah, I mean,
I think Rico Nasty is a bit
she's
slow
like
tie. Yeah. Okay.
The
next song is "Never Fight a Man with a Perm," which is just hilarious.
Oh yeah.
But goes super hard, super listenable, super quotable.
Even your haircut's violent. You look like you're from Love Island.
So applicable to so many people. By the way, all people out there that I understand that you might be self-conscious or whatever. If you're not self-conscious and you go and you're like, I want to go look like Alex Bowen because Alex Bowen looks cool, and you think you are Alex Bowen, fuck. Sorry for my outburst on people that want to look like Alex Bowen, but it pisses me off because most of them are bellends who love themselves. Right. I can't look like Alex Bowen. That's why I'm just angry. I'm angry because I'm clapped. Right. So yeah, we're going to finish off this album, and
and we're free.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Yeah. More idols. Never Fight a Man with a Perm. Super quotable. The hook, concrete and leather, smacks so hard it punches you in the face with just Joe Talbot absolutely letting unleash. The music video is sick. It involves people just get punched, cartoons punching each other kind of thing. Yeah, pretty fun. Yeah, visually pleasing thing. Then we get onto some of the more deeper kind of songs. We've got like stuff like I'm Scum, Samaritans, Danny Nadelko, Grime Rock. Well, kind of not really Grime Rock, maybe. Love Song, June. They're all pretty miserable, to be fair. They all go into stuff like on toxic masculinity and kind of other bad things, and promote good, nice messages. Woke man's dream, to be honest. A real coffee shop. Well, like one of those. But it's something that, if you played it at a vegan kind of coffee shop, everyone's silently just going, fuck you. This is the one, It's like it's like being in a grind basement. Yeah. It's like the same. You're at a clash, but instead you're just sitting in like Shoreditch,
sitting in Leon's,
sipping my green tea. Yeah, but it's great. It's great. It's not a disservice to any of those people. It's not all the album. It's just the people that it kind of translates to.
I feel like
it empowers a lot of good things that should be promoted for sure.
Yeah.
That song Danny Nadelko, which is my favorite on the album.
Yeah.
He starts off with like the first lyrics of the song are like, my blood brother is an immigrant, a beautiful immigrant. And then the song Danny Nedelka is actually named. So Danny Nedelka is the lead singer of another post-punk, Heavy Lungs. And Danny Nedelka is a Ukrainian immigrant, I believe, that lives in Bristol.
I don't know about that one. But yeah,
Shout out Bristol one time.
They basically did. Did you send us the album art? So basically, they've kind of mirrored each other's songs.
No, they've not mirrored each other. What was it? So Danny Nedelko is spelled out towards the end of the song. Nedelko is like the D, the A, the N, the Y, and it goes on.
Yeah.
And then Heavy Lungs have a song called Blood Brother, which is about the strength of unity and like brotherhood in different communities. And that ends with, I love you, my blood brother. I love you, my blood brother. I love you, Joe Talbot.
Oh, I haven't heard that one, but that's really nice.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the theme of Idols at the minute. Unity. They've got a fan group called the AF Gang. Shout out the AF Gang. That kind of just is a place where people can come together. It's like I think it started off as something that like fans could get together if they were going to the gigs by themselves. But now it's become just a really wholesome Facebook group where people just support each other, share how they feel and get support. And that's kind of comes from the messaging of this album. Maybe a little bit from Brutalism, but the messaging Idols put out alongside this album really like translates into unity, using like love as a weapon basically to kind of push out negativity. A lot of positive things coming on this album.
By the way, if anyone can't tell, we are very liberal people, very left-leaning people.
Yeah. Welcome to the party.
So we're not shy of that. So so like Tories, just fuck off.
Can't say that,
bro. I think it's I can. No, I just can. I can. It's me.
Who's gonna stop?
If
you know me, if you even listen to my music, this is just me.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
I would say that.
Yeah. all right. And then we got Gram Rock, which is also hilarious. It kind of lightens it up. Well, I don't know. Basically, it starts off with, I'm sorry your grandma's dead. Lovely spread. I score to win. Bada bada bing, I'm the king. I don't like... Why? I don't understand it.
You know that
I don't understand it.
It reminds me of The Educated in Yorkshire. I'm sorry about your grandma, yeah, but you can't
understand.
Yeah.
It's a weird song. That's probably my favourite album just because it's so out there.
Yeah.
Shouts out Alan Partridge with the ahas in the chorus kind of thing.
Did he ad-lib it?
It's yeah. Aha. That's it. That's it. And the song also ends with my boy fucked Tom Hiddleston's stylist, which I think is just... Imagine being Tom Hiddleston. Or
weird flex, but okay.
If that's true, that's incredible.
It's incredible. It makes me laugh every time I hear that song. So yeah. Anything else to say on that album?
Just dope album, completely wild. If you wanna drop an ecky and just listen to that album, fucking hell, you know, like you're gonna go nuts. Like,
yeah, it's heavy.
Yeah, it's like
it goes everywhere. The mellow stuff is really kind of poignant and beautiful.
Yeah,
and then the jump up heavy stuff is kind of, you just I think what Mike said probably sums it up well.
Yeah, you will just go nuts. Honestly, you'll go mental. Don't listen to it when you're driving because you just start speeding.
You just be behind the wheel. Just
Bro, honestly, last night I was listening to it on the way back, and obviously being in Devon, you got a lot of country roads, and I was driving out to this place because I originally was listening to some beats. That's what I do, I drive beats. But then I put on this album, and it was getting so heavy, and I was driving down this country lane, and all of a sudden the fog, I couldn't see a thing, and I had to like stop and pull over, and the album player made me feel like such a pussy because I just wanted to keep going, but I had to stop, pull over, go the other way because I couldn't see. I didn't know when it was going to get better, but I was like, with this album, I just wanted to keep going. Like, yeah, let's go. Like, that's what it is. It's just oh man, it's just such a good album, and
It's a good album. It's probably my favourite on this list. Hopefully my explanation of it has been coherent.
I think this one's been the most clear one for us.
Yeah, my breakdown before the last break probably didn't help things. But post-punk, man. Yeah, using punk sounds to experiment and still keeping the political kind of shouty style punk.
But right, so that's dope. Thank you both for that. Now, I know you both think you're about to be free, but there's one person I really want to touch on because he can fit into all of ours. You know it is. We touched on him earlier. I want to talk about Slow Tie.
Yeah.
Because he is so amazing as an artist. And I just wanted to talk about Nothing Great About Britain because, in all honesty, it fit on that album. All three of our genres fit in there.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
And anyone who if you've been living under a rock in Britain and you haven't heard this album, you have to go listen to it. Like he touches on everything. Like everything that is poor about Britain, he touches on. Literally comes from the name Nothing Great About Britain. This guy, like, obviously I think everyone heard of him through fucking Tea and Biscuits.
Yeah.
Jack Dylan. But then you don't expect him to be able to do something like is it Starry Nights?
Northern Lights.
North
Lights.
Yeah, North Lights, that's the one.
North Nights.
Ladies as well.
Ladies. Rainbow.
I mean, Ladies does some after his action, some of it gets taken away. But this is what we're saying: sort your fucking life out, bro.
Right.
But like, here's the thing with Ty. Ty is, you can tell he's just he's a person first and foremost, and people fuck up, obviously. And you know, like, he'll learn from that. But I don't want to be a slow tie apologist here. But what I'm trying to say is that this guy is. He's so, being as genuine as he is as a person, it comes across in his music. And like, obviously this is what was like, he needs to learn to control himself. But then I the only thing I do worry about is if he controls himself in real life, will he control himself more in his music, and his music becomes more restricted? It's a difficult one, really. But I mean, I know you two both love Ty, so if you want to talk on him at all, I feel like it. Feel free.
I feel like I talked about how he describes where the UK dystopian style comes from. Yeah. And I feel like he shows that so well in his music videos. There's the music video for Nothing Great About Britain. Bro. There's the Inglorious video with Skepta.
Which is the one which is the video where he's like going around in the pub and
I think that's...
No. It's a bottle of Bucky and Buckingham Palace.
That's Nothing Great About Britain.
Yeah,
where he's sat in this right racist-looking pub.
Yeah,
and incredible because people that aren't in Britain like paint the UK as like super posh and just like what they see is London and South.
Mm.
They don't see the Northamptons. They don't see these ends that people like Slow Tie have grown up in, and they don't. When they think of like a pub in England, they think of like some like corner pub in Zone 2 London or something, or they're thinking a rooftop bar and somewhere in London. I don't know. I'm not from there. But they don't really think about the shitholes in Northampton.
Bro, there's a lot of shitholes around. Like,
fucking.
That's the thing. So much of England.
Corby, fucking.
Yeah, shut down.
My ends, Slateford.
Like fucking. Like this is what I'm saying as well about. Well, I've always said it about Devon, being where I'm from. People think it's all countryside and whatever, but when you get into a city, there's such little diversity that there's a lot of casual racism, and. People don't see that as that part of England. Even people in England don't see it because that like you just see it as feels or whatever. But like, yeah, it's just because it's like, I don't know, it's weird. I don't know. There's just something. I think Britain is such a fucked up place. Like, it just is. Like, it always has been and always will be. And the only way to make the most out of being British is by commentating on the fact how fucked up it is. I think you have to do that, because if you're one of the people that says, "Oh, I love Britain and Britain's perfect," it's not. It's really not. You are living in a bubble. If that's the case. If you truly believe that, you're living in a bubble. Like, you want to go up north, you know, like to these places that are so deprived, or, you know, you want to go into, you know, Peckham and Brixton and whatever, and you want to talk about Britain's, you know, so great and equal or whatever. Britain's fucked up, and I think Slow Tie captures it so perfectly, because I've called him on numerous occasions this generation's Mike Skinner, in the sense that he can capture in a tune like he's having a conversation with you. So if he wants if he wants to comment on something in the UK, he really can in the song, because he can just make it like it's a conversation. And the guy is
pictures so well.
Yeah.
Whereas we were talking about how with last week, I know the audience wouldn't have heard this, but when we were talking about Kendrick and storytelling,
yeah,
it was just so detailed, where he told you what blocks he was on, he told you how far away he was. With Slow Tie, it's just sort of he doesn't have to be super precise about his details.
Yeah, you know where he is.
The aura he brings to the track, you just know where he's located and what situation he's in.
Is it North Nights the one where he talks about his mum being abused and him losing a sibling? And is it that tune?
That's a big recall.
I feel like North Nights talks about his mum being abused, and then his single
going up to Cambridge and talking about
his single with James Blake. Again, shout out James Blake. Another one that didn't make my list, just about, because I don't think they've had an album out yet. Mount Kimby.
Oh, shout out, yeah.
Shout out Mount Kimby, shout out James Blake. The song with Slow Tie is about his stillborn brother.
The Mount Kimby is King Cruel, isn't it? Yeah.
No.
Oh, yeah. Let's put it to the test, boy. Okay.
Wafflehouse.
Yeah.
I've caught these two off guard with a comment about Slow Tie.
Oh, come on.
But yeah, I think.
Yeah. No, no. King Cole's done a bit
Associated acts. Yeah.
Oh, come on.
But yeah, Ty is so dope. When we're talking about all these different genres, I feel like it's disservice to him to leave him out, because because he doesn't fit into one perfectly. He's the one. I think for me, he's going to be the UK number one guy. I think he's going to be, if he can sort his life out in the sense that he can stay sober, but also like be as deranged as he is, like, you know, coming out on stage with a paper mache of Boris Johnson's head. You know what I mean? Like,
that terrifying rabbit, whatever he whacked out when he was on tour.
Yeah.
If he can do that and stay sober and make good life decisions, respect women and stuff like that, then he's on track to be arguably the biggest artist in the UK, I think.
Yeah. I think that a lot of people our age take ownership of him, because he was like, I found out about him in the basement.
Yes.
He got shared a bunch through there, and like that was when he was just putting the songs out on YouTube and SoundCloud, no Spotify. So I feel like everyone is, so many people have got that relationship with him. So many people would have got him on early because they were in the right Facebook group or something like that.
And like if you ever watched TGF, bro,
he's
doing for his intro and outro. Everyone used to know him. Everyone, like he's our boy. He's our boy, and that's why when we all saw him do what he did on stage, everyone was so disappointed.
Yeah, everyone was really disappointed, man. Yeah,
because everyone's rooting for him, really are.
Yeah, definitely.
It's when we see when you see a celebrity fuck up like that, you're just like, what the fuck are you doing? But when I remember me and Luke talked about this when we seen Slow Tie, there was actual genuine disappointment.
Yeah, we were. Yeah. It was just a shame, man. It was a real shame, and I think it's because up to that point, it'd just been positive. It'd just been putting out good music. I don't think we'd had to dive that deep into his character or nothing like that. No. But when we were faced with it, it was kind of, we didn't like what we see, because as a fan, you hold people up as
To
your hero and
yeah,
stuff like that,
yeah.
and like having negative stuff to deal with was really disappointing.
And not just that, it took away so much of what his album stands for as well.
Yeah.
Is the one thing that really did it for me, because when we're talking about North Nights and we're talking about songs like Ladies as well, and it's like, this one's for the ladies because they have a babies, and it's like, it's all about all the shit women go through to make our lives more comfortable, and then he's doing that on stage just because he's had a few drinks. It's not really excusable. Yeah, it just it's upsetting. It's upsetting is what it is.
I think he's going to learn from that though, hopefully. But yeah, he's still so young now, but that's what amazes me, because like, he's so young, but for me, in my music, I've got two major influences, and one is Kanye and the other is him. Like, he is a massive influence on so many people. He's probably like a couple years older than us.
He might be the same age.
He might be the same age, and he influences. You know what I mean? Like, he's
yeah.
You normally say that about people that are like 15, 20 years older, but
he's 26. He's 26.
26, yeah, so a few years older than us, and yeah, he's just dope. That's my phone. Sorry about that. I think that's the signal to end it on that note. Yeah. Thank you both for joining me. We'll be back again next week. If you've made it this far, I need you to evaluate your life. Really, I need.
Hopefully, my mustache hasn't creeped you out for 3 hours.
What I'll do, boys, is I'll on YouTube now, you can put it into sections, so I'll section up so people can click and see what they want to listen to. We want a guest. We'll put our Twitters down below. If you wanna come on and join us, just drop us a message, a DM. And yeah, cool. See you next week.
See you
in a bit, boys. Sweet one.